much. Hello? Anybody hear me? No, nothing? Hey, hello. Hey, good morning, everybody. If I could have everybody sit down that needs to sit down, I'd appreciate it. This is a moving ride, so no hands in the air. Come on, laugh. Okay, so welcome to our 2021 Fall DTRAIN General Session. First of all, restrooms are out this door to the left a little bit. And if you would, enter through the back of the room. Okay. I would also like to welcome all the members that are attending online. This is our second DTRAIN that we're streaming, and last time it proved to be quite successful. It's on YouTube, so in your packet that you got for registration should be a business card size QR code. If you do that, it'll take you right to the website. It's amazing. Patrick did a great job. I would now like to call the meeting to order. Chris, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
All rise. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two. Be seated.
Thank you, Chris. I would also like to extend my thanks and gratitude to the members of Division 6 and their production team that worked so hard for the second time to pull off this DTRAIN. It's been a pleasure working with the team, and it's turned out to be a very nice venue so far. Would Reverend Gus Von Dolen please come forward to give the invocation?
Will you pray with me? Oh God, we ask for your blessing upon these deliberations. May we be sensitive to the needs of others as we go about performing our duties in the name of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. May you extend your blessing as well to our leadership, both at this level as well as at the national level, and even so as we pray for our president and other leaders. For being here with us, for providing us guidance and security, we offer you our thanks and our praise. And everyone said, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. I would like to take this time to welcome our guests and introduce our XCOM auxiliary staff. From Sector Ohio Valley, Louisville, Kentucky, Sector Commander Captain Amy Beach. From DIROCS, Office St. Louis, Missouri, Director of Auxiliary for 8th Eastern and Western Rivers, Commander Suzanne Heyman. From Marine Safety Unit Paducah, Commander Jennifer Andrew. We also have with us from Sector Ohio Valley Command, Command Sector Chief, Senior Chief C.C. Clayton. And finally, we have from our Cincinnati area Marine Safety Detachment, Cincinnati Supervisor, Lieutenant Nicholas Olmstead. Welcome. To my left, we have our XCOM auxiliary staff, Chris Whitaker, Chief of Staff, Anthony Waters, District Captain East. Ron Bono, District Captain South. And Skip Nunweiler, District Captain West. And unable to attend is our immediate past District Commodore, Dave Stroop. Hopefully he's watching. Hello, Commodore. Would Josh Johnson, Vice Division Commander for Division 6, our hosting division, please come forward to introduce the local representative?
Thank you, Commodore. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
For many years, for many of us that live here in the Dayton area, she's the voice we wake up to, hearing on WHIO 1290 AM and 95.7 FM radio, and the face we see on WHIO Channel 7 each weekday morning starting at 04:30. We've brought her into our homes and rely on her to get our day started as she brings us live, local, and late-breaking news happening in our area and in the rest of the world. She's reported and covered on a vast array of stories, some of historical significance, such as the last flight of the Hanoi taxi from Operation Homecoming, which is housed here on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at the National Museum of the United States Air Force. The heartfelt, touching story of a dog named Petey, who avoided being euthanized and was adopted by a family after seeing her story. And yes, what would any good reporter be without bloopers? During a live broadcast, she got to witness firsthand a monkey named Whiplash who rides a dog during rodeo shows. Currently, she lives here in Greene County and grew up in the area, attending Dayton Public Schools, Chaminade Julienne Catholic High School, and is a proud graduate of the University of Dayton. She joined News Center 7 in 1997 as a camera operator with the ambition of one day to becoming a reporter and then eventually an anchor. Fast forward to today, it is an honor and my pleasure to get to introduce and welcome to all of you here and all of you watching at home to the podium, my friend Gabrielle Enright.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I've known Josh a long time. That was a lot nicer than what I expected. I'm an awe to be here in front of all of you today, and also online, something I'm kind of familiar with. So it is a pleasure to join you this morning. Although my morning started this morning a little earlier than most, I was at work at 1:30. So I'm going to need a nap and a coffee, probably not in that order. I'd like to start by thanking you all for being here and also for your service as we prepare to remember the 20th anniversary of the events that happened on 9/11, which I was working at the news station for. I've been there for 24 years. Please know that we appreciate your dedication. We also appreciate the sacrifices you make to keep us safe, and we appreciate your service. So thank you very much. If you don't know, here in Fairborn, you are in a military town. So you are among family, and we welcome you. Captain Beach, Commodore Meyer, we appreciate you doing this here today. I kind of think of myself as maybe the Walmart greeter of the Miami Valley. If you're familiar with Walmart, you know those people that say hello and we kind of welcome you to the area. That's the way I am for a lot of things. I like to kind of let folks know what's going on, and that's what Josh asked me to do for this morning. You already know that there's 25,000 Coast Guard auxiliarists across the United States. And for those of you who are here with us, we'd like to welcome you to the Dayton area. If you're not familiar with some of the things in Dayton, some of this may surprise you. If you are, some of this may not. We are the birthplace of aviation and also home of the Wright brothers. Charles Kettering, John Patterson, Edward Deeds proudly claimed Dayton as their home, and so did literary figures Paul Laurence Dunbar and Irma Bombeck. Actor Martin Sheen and Allison Janney of The West Wing, you probably are familiar with them from those shows and others. They're also Dayton natives, so I don't know if you knew that. And called home since I was a kid. We moved here when I was about 5. My dad retired from the Dayton Fire Department. My stepfather retired from the Air Force. And my husband is a local fire chief. I've worked at my hometown station that I grew up watching for 24 years. I've done everything from camera work, I wasn't very good at that, to anchoring the news. I'm still working to get good at that. Again, I was at work this morning at 1:30. I called in for something that fortunately turned out not to be as significant as we thought at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I'm sure you all heard. Thankfully, all clear was given. Everybody's safe, and I was able to make it today because there was a moment this morning when I thought maybe I wasn't going to be. So thankfully, everybody is safe. Speaking of broadcasting, this area is home to some of the pioneers, some people that are very instrumental in my life. James M. Cox, he actually started our station, so I'm thankful. Also Lou M., who worked at WHIO Radio, a lot of voices, and Phil Donahue, a lot of you probably know that as well. Some of you, if you're in town long enough, you might check out the National Museum of the United States Air Force. It's got a lot of neat displays. They're always changing things there. And the Miami Conservancy, it's a system of dams that have prevented the recurrence of the 1913 flood. There's a lot of historical pictures and things like that. Carillon Park is a really great destination you might want to try. If you're a thrill seeker, I don't know, I'm looking around the crowd. A lot of you look like people that would ride roller coasters. I don't know, maybe. Kings Island is only about an hour away, so that's something there. If you're a shopper, we've got the Green that's not that far. That's in Beaver Creek, and we also have the Fairfield Commons Mall that's in Beaver Creek as well. Lots of food, lots of things to do outside or inside, depending on the weather. There's also some festivals. There's some really good ones. I think the Greek and Italian Festival are this weekend. You might want to check those out as well. There's lots of people that can direct you to the right places. They're a lot of fun. The food is fantastic. And if you're in for a nice stroll in the village, maybe go to Yellow Springs. If you've not been there, it's a beautiful, beautiful town. And you may run into Dave Chappelle, because Dave Chappelle also calls our area home. And you see him walking around. He often goes to Dino's Cappuccinos around 11:45. Just saying. He's really cool, too. If you don't have the entire weekend to explore things to do here, come back. We welcome you. We are a very welcoming community. And again, if you don't have time to visit for very long, just remember us and check on us at any time. We'd be happy to have you back. Again, we'd like to thank you for your service. I'm here for any questions if you need me, and we appreciate your dedication, and be safe. Thank you again for joining us. Commodore.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Okay, Roseanne, I know this is your moment to shine. Please call roll to make sure we have a quorum.
Matt Meyer, DCO.
Present.
Chris Leeper, DCOS.
Present.
Anthony Waters, DCAP East.
Present.
Skip Munwater, DCAP West.
Present.
Ron Bernot, DCAP South.
Present.
Commander Suzanne Hayman, Director. Present. Randy Ventris, President of the Task Division Commanders Association. Daniel Gillahan, Commander Division 1. John Burrell, Commander Division 2.
Present.
Michael Craig, Commander Division 4.
Present.
Doug Field, Commander Division 5.
Present.
Bob Clancy, Commander Division 6.
Present.
Patrick Wiley, Vice Commander Division 7.
Present.
Debbie Guffey, Commander Division 8. Present. Chris Jones, Commander Division 11.
Present.
Mike Miller, Commander Division 12.
Present.
David Cox, Immediate Past Commander Division 16.
Present.
Clyde Bowman, Commander Division 18.
Present.
Harold Leish, Commander Division 24. We are 100%.
Thank you, Roseanne. Would Kelly Crecelius please come forward to introduce our 2021 Fall D-Train Leadership Class?
Thank you, Matt. All right, let's welcome from Division 11, Jerry Buddy Clark. From Division 7, Wes Nodovitz. Thank you. From Division 8, Gene Stegman. Thank you. From Division 24, Monica Benton. From Division 1, Errol Chinnitok. From Division 11, William Gus Von Dolen. Okay. From Division 6, Greg Taylor. From Division 4, Robert Henson. From Division 2, Greg Michael. From Division 1, Richard Friedman. And from Division 11, William Billy Livell. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, students, for stepping up. The future is yours. Someday you'll be up here. Enjoy the ride on the way up, because it's what you make it. If you want to have fun, have fun. And that's what I suggest. I've had a blast through the years. All, 4 years I've been here? Not yet. 3.5, okay. Yeah, it's a quick rise. Okay, old business. Last D-Train, we had a recommendation to look into some leadership issues, what we could do to help improve the situation. As you know, a lot of us are doing double duty and having to step back into the position a couple times. So what I promised is we'd put a committee together, and over the summer we'd get together and work on what the issues were. And we talked about this last night with the board. So we got a lot of the discussion out of the way, but briefly what we did is we identified some of the key issues that everyone is faced with. And of course, every division has to handle their issues a different way. That's just the way it is. There's no one answer for every issue. So what we did is we put together a document, and we identified the issues, and then we have suggestions. And what this is, it's actually a tool for the division commanders, flotilla commanders to use, so that when you come upon an issue, and you will, and you have, then you have a reference guide of things that will help you deal with this. And it's 5 pages front and back. It's a pretty good document. So that's where we're at. That's my update from the spring. So after reviewing the document, does anybody have any questions? Hearing none? Perfect. We did a good job. Let's give us all a round of applause. It is actually also could be considered a living document. And I use document freely. It's a guideline. But it will change as issues arise. But use it. And if you have anything to add, send it up. If you have any suggestions, you go back and look at it the next couple weeks. If you have any suggestions where we may have missed something, feel free to email me. I'm open for suggestions, anything to help the leadership. Okay. Okay. New business. Again, last night, we sent out the minutes from spring, and it's time to vote on the minutes. First, though, does anyone have any changes other than grammatical? We always miss a period or exclamation point. So.
I've already found them.
Okay. No changes? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written or as amended? Mike Miller? Second. Chris Jones? Thank you, gentlemen. Do I have, okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. There you go. Can't forget to read my notes.
Someone will remind you.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. The 2021 Spring D-Train General Session Meeting minutes are approved. Thank you.
May I say something else?
Yes, ma'am.
I have received so many compliments this weekend, and I am deeply, deeply appreciative.
Very good. Thank you all. It's always nice to have compliments. Okay, now the time we've all been waiting for, decap elections. Yay, all right. Okay. Okay, please bear with me because I have a lot of reading to do. And with that being said, pursuant to the Auxiliary Manual Commandant's Instruction M16790.1G, Chapter 4, Section F.3, and District Standing Rules, Revision 3, Article 3, Organization, Article 6, Voting, and Article 7, District Elections, and Robert's Rules of Order, I open elections for the year 2021 for the offices of District Captain East, South, and West. The term of office for a district captain is 1 year with a 2-year maximum. Our current DCAP East and TCAP South have been in office for 1 year. Our current DCAP West has served 2 terms, and this position is open with no incumbent for 2021. Article 6.7 of the District Standing Rules is in effect identifying the President of the Past Division Commanders Association as a voting member per Article 3, Section 3.1. Following the guidelines stated above concerning the Auxiliary Manual and the District Standing Rules, Article 7, a screening committee consisting of myself, there's more, Commodore Ventress and Chris Whitaker, Chief of Staff, was put in place. Letters of intent notices were sent to me. I'm sorry, I misread that. The screening committee was immediate past Commodore Dave Stroop, myself, and Chris Whitaker. Candidates for the offices of DCAP responded with letters of intent have been vetted by the screening committee. Candidates for District Captain East are as follows: Anthony Waters, incumbent 1 year, 2-year max term remaining. Candidates for District Captain South are as follows: Ronald Bono, incumbent 1 year of a 2-year maximum term remaining. Candidates for District Captain West are as follows: Doug Field, and Robert Wood. Will the screening committee please again verify the eligibility of these candidates? It's up to you and me.
If you insist, sir.
Where we go?
There we go.
Okay, very good. Per district standing rules, Article 7 and paragraph 7.2, I will serve as moderator for the elections. I will ask that Commodore Randy Ventris, Commodore Rick Shaw, and Richard Miles to serve as the teller committee to count votes. Per district standing rules, paragraph 7.3, nominations will be allowed from the floor. For purposes of all election provisions in these rules, the term floor shall include only incumbent district board members. Definition of board is the 12 division commanders or the vice commander if the division commander is not present. The immediate past division commander if neither the division commander or vice commander are present. Article 6.6, President of the Past Division Commanders Association and ex-com members, the National Commodore NACO Alexander Molesky, per Article 3, Paragraph 3.1 of the District 8 Eastern Region Standing Rules, is a voting member of the board. Are there any questions before voting begins? Very good. Prior to opening the balloting for the offices of District Captain East, South, and West, I will call for nominations from the floor for each DCAP area of responsibility. We will start with DCAP East. Must be a member of Divisions 2, 6, 7, or 18. Do I hear any nominations from the floor? I have to say this 3 times. Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I ask the Secretary of Records to cast 1 vote for Anthony Waters, DCAP East, 2022. Congratulations, Anthony. DCAP South must be a member of Divisions 11, 12, 16, or 24. Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I ask the Secretary of Records to cast 1 vote for Ronald Bono, DCAP South, 2022. Congratulations, Ron. DCAP West must be a member of Division 1, 4, 5, or 8. Nominations have been received and vetted for Doug Field, Robert Wood. Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I close the nominations for District Captain West for 2022. Lynn, would you please pass out the ballots for District Captain West election? And last night, we gave them the opportunity to speak to the board and do a little song and dance for them. And they did quite well.
This is twice now. And you're in the dark, yes, twice now. You walked around.
Okay, Lynn will give those ballots to the teller committee, and if they could tally the votes, we will take a pause here. And everybody just take a break. Take a couple minutes and relax. Say again? Time for a song and dance. I don't have any more song and dance left in me, so anybody else would, I would entertain that. No, I do not. I can disappear real quick, though, if you want. Oh, while everybody's waiting, right behind this wall is the hospitality suite and the ship store. Please, please visit the ship store and the hospitality suite. Great place to relax. And we have we'll touch on this here in a little bit, but they have a lot of great stuff in that ship store right now. So,
But you gotta use the other doors to exit.
yes. Yes. Shop long and buy often. And a lot, yeah. And then go next door and get you some coffee and tea and raffle tickets. Yes, raffle tickets. We need to buy raffle tickets too.
For the homemade honey.
There, yes,
Yeah.
it's,
She's advertising in the raffle.
yes, yeah. We have some homegrown honey from,
From the Heyman family farm.
there you go. Yes.
So I shouldn't have used that in my tea?
You should not.
I'm sorry, everybody, I'm
Well, you know what? You broke it, you bought it.
There you go. Blind auction and 50-50. And those online, sorry.
I did not bring that. This is my first year, these are my first hives, so this is, I pulled a couple of frames that had a little bit of honey, but I'm gonna leave the rest for the bees. Next year, there'll probably be much more, or in the spring.
Along with eggs, chickens' eggs,
chickens
and
yet.
no chickens yet?
No.
Okay,
I don't think we're gonna need to,
okay.
although, I don't know, my son started on an egg kick, you know how kids are to like eat meat, everything, so now he's eating 4 eggs a day, so we might need to. Well, the girls want goats, so maybe we'll get goats. Baby goats. Baby goats, yes. Gotta have the baby goats. I don't want goats, although, they're so cute. Who does? Oh, really? Oh, well, we've got a lot of poison ivy. I wouldn't mind those goats eating up, but.
They eat everything in Canada.
I don't know. I don't want them. I don't want them.
Fences don't work.
And sealed envelope. All right, I love it. Okay. As you can see, it's sealed quite well. It's on his face, isn't it? It's right there. No glasses. Yeah, well, you handed it to me upside down, so I just assumed. Don't open it because the ballots are in there, right?
He set you up for failure there. As a past Commodore, he should know better.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah.
I shouldn't because I'm new.
Right, you're the new guy.
I'm the new guy. I was looking for money. See how much they paid for the votes. Very good. Okay, I would like to announce the new DCAP West for the year 2022. Doug Field, congratulations. And at this time, I'd like for us all to take a 15, let's make it, 15-minute break, and let's, it's 40, it's 58, 55. Let's be back at 8:55. I'll tell you what, let's make it top of the hour, 9 o'clock. How about that? Okay. Huh? Man, let's get through this.
I don't have to move fast as I did till we hit a brick wall.
Yeah. That's always how it happens.
Somebody was.
Yeah, we got,
Is that on there somewhere?
it was not, oh, new business. It wasn't, it was written down here. We'll get that right after the break. Okay. Yeah, thank you, though. I would have forgot all about it, because if it's not written down here, yeah.
I have that same issue. It's not written down. I gotta get done.
Thank you. I missed the election, finance and ship store vote. Huh? Oh, yeah, right after the break. But, see, I don't, no, I missed it. We missed it. I had it written down under new business, but I didn't transfer it over, so. I don't have specific language for those. Yeah, no, yeah, I asked Keith to shadow me on the, protocols. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Right, okay.
Okay, thanks. I'm a little nervous. Yeah, I'm a little nervous. Could I have everybody take their seats, please? Could I have everybody take their seats, please? I can lay that down all the way, right? Or will it turn it off?
I think it'll turn it off, but you can try it and see. Go back to it.
That's good. All right, everybody, it's the top of the hour. Okay, there was two things I did miss on new business. It's my fault. I got caught up in the moment. Okay, so we have a budget, and we have to vote on the budget. And Mark, could I ask you to come up? Mark's going to kind of go over for everybody what we talked about last night, kind of explain what's going on.
You had the materials that we distributed last night. The last 2 pages in that. There's the actual spreadsheet itself, and then there's a narrative that explains each of the categories and line items. The income is very simple for the district. We have dues. The annual assessment is $6 a head, and then prorated through each of the quarters as we add new members. Good for our HR folks bringing in new members, because that brings new money for us. And that we get a tiny bit of interest off our CDs, because the interest rate environment today is non-existent out there as well. And so, that's the revenue. Some years we'll get money from the Material Center, but as we discussed last night, there won't be any transfer of monies from the Material Center, but that will be coming next year and in subsequent years once Tracy sells that excess items. On the disbursement side, we have the awards and gifts from the spring conference, the spring D-Train, and that there's always some conference expenses that are associated with the spring production and the online parts. And that if the Commodore and the Chief of Staff get a chance to get back out on the road, we have some monies to cover their travel if the director does not have money to be able to do that for them. There is a contingency fund that we established for the district Commodore and have for years. It's $2,000. You may need to buy, a printer or toner or whatever, emergency basis, as opposed to having to reconvene the board for an emergency purchase. Not very much though, it's only $2,000 in there. And then we have a training plug in case the director runs out of training money, or if on September 30th the government shuts down and we need to spend some money, there's money for training in there if we need to do that as well. So, and then this year the one-time line item for the Material Center to help her pay for the excess materials that she ended up buying in anticipation of ACON, which was subsequently canceled then. So 26,000 would be the expenditure for this year.
All right, thank you. And now I'd entertain a motion to approve the minute, or approve the budget as explained. Clyde Bowman.
Second.
Debbie Guffey. Second was Debbie Guffey. Thank you. Okay. With that being said, Mark mentioned a line item for the materials store. Okay, so what happened this year is NACON asked 8 East to supply and man the materials store at NACON in August. So we went out and bought a whole bunch of stuff because there's a lot of people at NACON, and with the intent that, you know, we were going to sell most or all of it there, which is usually happens. Well, NACON canceled. We couldn't cancel the order. So the ship store is liable for quite a bit of money. And we worked out deals with the OXA, but we still owe them money. So what we're going to do is we'd like to put a line item in the budget as a buffer so that this ever, and we've got the deal worked out. So, but what this line item does, it's like a credit line. So if the store, which is self-sufficient normally for our D-trains, if we ever are presented with this problem again, we won't have to keep coming to the board and saying, we need money for the ship store for this reason. So it's like any of the other line items. It's there if we need it. It doesn't mean she's ever going to use it because Teresa operates that ship store self-sustaining. So every year, she has never asked us for money. She actually gives us quite a bit of money every year through the ship store. So that's going to be our next vote. So I would entertain a motion to accept the line item for the ship store.
Make a motion.
Motions, Bob Clancy. Do I have a second?
We didn't vote on the first motion.
Oh,
You now have two motions.
I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Thank you, Clyde. Okay, so, okay. Everybody in favor of the budget, say aye. Nay? Okay, that budget has passed. Am I correct? Am I good with that? Keith, am I okay? Okay, we're good. Now let's get back on track in here. The motion, I would like to have a motion for the line item, and that was Bob Clancy, right?
Need second.
Question,
Yes.
shouldn't that have been done before we did the budget? Showing that that was put into the budget and then voted on?
I don't think you need to.
I
You're
don't-
talking about a line item for years to come, right?
Years to come, yeah.
Future addition,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because it's in the budget, you accepted that budget. He's talking about upcoming years, that every year there will be a line item.
Yeah, it wasn't in the budget we just voted on. It's in the
Okay.
next budget. It will be in the next budget, right?
Isn't it? The budget we just voted on.
Had it in there. Okay, yeah, you're right, you're right.
So,
Okay.
what you're just talking about, so that in the future, the
In the
budget committee
future,
would build in
That's
that
what we're
line
voting
item.
on, so that we don't have to keep asking for money, if need be. Is that,
Yeah, that's fine.
yes, Commodore?
How much are we talking on the line item?
Okay, I think we've put 7,000. 7,000.
Question, would it help relieve the issue if we, she always funds in, to the district coffers, part of her profit every year. Would it relieve in any way, the issue that we might have in the future if we relieve her of that responsibility, put it back into the district coffer for a while?
In other words, just building up her bank account?
Building up her bank account. Discussion.
Anybody have?
The budget, this budget does not indicate, we are expecting her to provide any funding for us. So in effect, we reflected that by not budgeting any income from the center.
Is that good? Keith, we okay? Where were we at? Were we on a second? I think Doug, didn't you second it the first time? Doug Field. Okay, we've had any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, motion's passed. Teresa, good to go. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate it. Okay, now that that's done, let's move on to our officer reports. Yes. I'm going in line. Is that all right? Beach Heyman Andrews, Chief, Homestead.
Oh, okay, you said officer report, I thought you meant.
Oh, yeah, you guys. You guys, not decap officer. Yeah. Oh, that's good, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to start out with the Sector Ohio Valley update. Captain Amy Beach.
Good morning for those here as well as those who may be viewing online. Before I get to the sector update, there had been, especially when I met with the division commanders, some questions that had been asked of me at the spring D-Train that I had promised to follow up on and get answers to, and I'm not sure that my answers got, always get out to the right folks. So I wanted to take this opportunity to answer those questions that I wasn't able to, that I had written down last time. One of the first ones had to do with the PFD rating and numbering system change. These new labels are being phased in over a period of years, but life jackets that are bearing the old type of naming and labels still meet the requirements as long as they're in good and serviceable condition. Our grant-funded partners have put out some user-friendly content. You can search new life jacket labels to find that. It says if the source is a .org, it's official content, but I noticed that then the link it has is to a .com, safeboatingcampaign.com. But I brought the policy letter and then some infographics that kind of explain the change to the PFD labeling system. In terms of any changes to enforcement, no, it should not change what you do in terms of, you still check for a Coast Guard approval number, but it's the level 100 life jackets, and it's to try and put us kind of on an equivalent level with Canada and Transport Canada in terms of how they do the system for their PFDs and kind of keep it consistent through North America. But again, I have a copy of the policy letter and infographic for anyone who is interested on or still has questions about the new labels. I also got a question about the lanyard law, that Congress had mandated the new requirements requiring recreational boat manufacturers to install an engine cutoff switch for recreational boat operators to use. As of April 1st, operators of covered recreational vessels are required to wear a cutoff switch link. For vessels less than 26 feet with an engine capable of producing 115 pounds or more of static thrust, that's approximately 3 horsepower, the operator has to wear one of the cutoff switch links. Manufacturers had to start installing that as of December 4th, 2019, but there are some rules in terms of when an operator actually has to wear the cutoff switch link, and it has to do with getting above certain speeds or being on a plane. And I brought a public affairs guidance that sort of walks through and explains what's required with that, and then a flow chart that goes through of does the operator need to wear the lanyard for the cutoff switch or not. So, again, help yourself take a look at them if there are other questions that you may have about the lanyard law. Also, Clyde, I think it was you had asked about national not wanting auxiliary to go on board houseboats that were over 65 feet. Not you? Okay. Someone had asked me about not being able to go on board houseboats and do vessel safety checks. We did reach back out to BSX and try and figure out where the 65-foot came in and sort of the why of it. They cited that in all the manuals it refers to a boat as 65 feet or less, but as to the why they don't want folks going on board houseboats that are larger has to do with concerns with confined space issues, as well as some complex firefighting is the explanation I was given. I brought the email exchange that I had with the Captain Retired Vern Gifford in BSX. So if you're interested in a little more details on the where and why, I have that with me as well. The other one had to do with the recruiters visiting Indianapolis. Chief Zach Brost, is that how, has taken over at recruiting. He does cover the Indianapolis area. He is more than happy to go up if folks have certain schools or events that they want recruiting to show up for. He's more than happy to do so. I can give you his contact information as well. He does plan to be up in the Indianapolis area. We have a spar who's turning 100. So a group of us are going up to celebrate her 100th birthday, and so we'll be in the Indianapolis area for that. Now on to the sector update. We've had a pretty significant changeover in leadership across all of sector Ohio Valley. Up in Pittsburgh, we now have Commander Eric Velez, who took over for Aaron Demo. The cutter up there, Osage, the new officer in charge is Senior Chief Hurley. In Huntington, the CO is Commander Will Albright. You've already got kind of introduced to MSD Cincinnati's new supervisor, Lieutenant Nick Olmstead. Cutter Obine is Master Chief Norman. MSU Paducah, we have here with us Commander Jen Andrew. Chippewa's officer in charge is now Senior Chief Fleming, and Chena is Senior Chief Wunsch. Also going on around the sector has been closure of boat houses and stand-up of stations. We've closed the boathouse in Cincinnati as of this weekend, but we have started commissioning stations. Earlier this month, we were in Paducah to stand up Station Paducah. Louisville, we've done Station Louisville, and next week I'll be up in Pittsburgh to do the stand-up of Station Pittsburgh. Huntington will remain a boathouse. I'm hopeful with having stations and officers in charge at those stations that it will make working with the auxiliary even easier than what it's been not having an officer in charge. You can work a little more directly, I think, with the officers in charge than perhaps could be done when it was a boathouse and just had a supervisor there. So looking forward to seeing how that works. But Station Louisville, it's BM1 Tyler White is the new station OIC. In Paducah, it's Chief Shahan. And next week with Station Pittsburgh, it'll be BM1 DePalo, who will be the station officer in charge. Because we had such a large leadership turnover throughout sector, we brought in all the leadership or as much of the new folks as we could to kind of have a leadership meeting. Auxiliary were invited. I know, unfortunately, Commodore Shaw couldn't make it that one, but we gave the invite. And a lot of that was to try and look at how we should focus our efforts and what our priorities throughout all of sector should be over the next coming year. We're still kind of working on the priorities and hope to have those, but we'll be sending them out, and I'll make sure that it gets to auxiliary leadership so they can see where, at least from my perspective, Sector Ohio Valley wants to focus their assets and their resources and operations. Lengthy review process that we had on our AUX SOP, but the revision is complete, and I've signed off on the new SOP. Just a brief summary of some of the changes in there. We updated and revised all references with the most current and applicable instructions. We amended the OIA responsibilities. Now MSD supervisors are better aligned along with the response and prevention, aligning the missions on the Western Rivers. We've assigned specific divisions with specific unit aux lows for increased gold and silver interaction, trying to reduce process time and have better span of control. The inter-area of response communication for orders, cross-boundary ops, worked on clarifying that. Updated the comms frequency, proper radio call signs for facilities and radio guard procedures, clarified and updated orders issuing process, updated the high water nav standards, and added instructions for incident management activities. And I thank you all for your patience as we go through the process, but I do think it will make for better interaction and more, hopefully, interaction between gold and silver side, which has been one of my goals. Speaking of interaction, in April, AUX Division 12 and Division 11, along with the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and MSD Nashville, conducted an uninspected passenger vessel op in Knoxville. It was led by Chief Warrant Officer Mann at MSD, and the team conducted uninspected passenger vessel operations in Knoxville back in April. Just some highlights from those 2 days. Flotilla 1202 and 1104 were participants. They educated over 30 mariners, conducted 9 voluntary UPV exams, issued 4 compliance decals, identified 10 deficiencies, and it also allowed 3 AUX members to complete their UPV PQS and get issued qual letters. So that was a great success, and I think a proactive approach in directly supporting District 8's operational planning direction when it comes to illegal charter operations, which we know are growing throughout the AOR. Also wanted to thank you all for support following the grounding of the passenger vessel American Jazz in Lake Barkley. For those who were not aware of the incident, on the 7th of July, the American Jazz, it was carrying 120 passengers, 54 crew members, was upbound on the Cumberland River, somehow managed to miss the navigation aids and ran themselves aground. We had a great deal of AUX support both in the command post and in helping us enforce the safety zones around there and keep boaters away. There was a lot of media interest, a lot of recreational boating interest. You have this, decent-sized passenger vessel that's stuck there aground, and a lot of people wanted to get up close and get pictures. It was interfering. We ended up removing the passengers off, so it became a mass. They termed it a mass rescue. No one was really in danger, but still we were, taking 150 plus passengers off that vessel and a number of crew members, and we needed people to stay away so that we could keep the pontoon boats kind of steady for people to walk out on and get out. And so it's about 10 days before the vessel was able to get off the ground. I'd also like to say I happen to have my 2 nephews with me during part of the summer. It remains the highlight that they got to go out on the AUX boat. So I was with them, and the 14-year-old Jack says, hey, Aunt Amy, are we going to go fast? I said, ask the coxswain. So he leans in, he's like, excuse me, sir, are we going to go fast? He goes, is that a question or an order? I said, explore it. And so, 2 weeks later, they were back home telling their friends about, how they got to go out there and patrol and enforce I was like, you guys weren't enforcing anything, but you're just on the boat having fun. But they enjoyed it. So thank you for that opportunity for them and for the support. And then, want to also take the opportunity before I step down to congratulate Auxiliarist Brown for being selected as the National Auxiliarist of the Year. Enrolled in 2014 and has done an amazing amount of work in serving in flotilla leadership positions, supporting the national leadership as well. Incredibly well-deserved, and real happy to see that Aux Brown was selected. So that ends my...
Thank you, Captain Beach. Now I would like to ask the director to come up, Commander Suzanne Heyman.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone here and everyone online. I'll start by offering my hellos and welcomes on behalf of my boss and your boss, Admiral Timmy, who's the new District 8 commander. He was not scheduled to be here, but his chief of staff was scheduled to be here today, Captain Reed. Unfortunately, as you may remember, a significant hurricane has made a significant, horrific impact on District 8 in the coastal region. So they are quite busy there and working on those. So he sends his regrets. He certainly really was looking forward to coming. His wife was going to come with him. So I know that we'll see him, and many of you do know Admiral Timmy. Remember him from his role here. So he also, we talked to him in the spring. We met with him, the Commodores, and he certainly knows and wants to come back and see you all, remember some faces, and knows what fun it would be to be here. So he will certainly be here in the near future. But both of them, of course, as always, extend their thanks and their appreciation for all the work that you do. They are surrounded right now by a small number of auxiliaries that are showing exactly what you all are capable of doing. We have auxiliaries deployed in many roles right now in the hurricane response, as we always do. This happens every time we have auxiliaries embedded, but we're working to continue to build that strength, to build a structure to make sure that things are going smoothly and we're getting more reservists in. You're going to hear about that tomorrow, I believe, or this afternoon. There's some training sessions talking about how members of the Eastern region can be more engaged in that emergency response and that activity. So I just want to make sure it's clear to everyone here and everybody listening that there are members already within your region that are deploying and supporting their local units. Captain mentioned members in the command post there with American Jazz. Those are the kind of things that beyond traditional boating activities, comms activities, even culinary assistance, that there's room to grow into that program area. And we're trying to build that within the Eastern region. So I'll start there. I'll say that everybody from the director's office also sends their welcomes and regrets, their thank yous and regrets. So Mr. John Tracy is traveling this weekend. I gave him special permission to miss this event. He's bringing his son to college in Idaho. So they took a great father-son road trip. I've seen some pictures. He's got some plans for the way home when he's by himself to kind of assuage his empty nesting, but he still has children at home, of course, to take care of, but he's going to take a couple extra days on the way back and relax a little bit. But he sends his regards. He, of course, is always there, always working closely with Chief QE, working closely with me and with Rick Shaw there when you're at the sectors, trying to make sure there's a good connection. So he sends his thanks, and I have a couple more comments from him. Laura and Rhonda continue. For those that aren't aware, there are two civilian employees that work in my office in St. Louis that support the Eastern region, Laura and Rhonda, and they do love to come to these events as well, but certainly COVID is a concern, and Laura has some family. Her son-in-law is about to deploy, so she's staying home and helping and being with him and his wife, or her daughter, his wife. So they send their regards, and as always, please work through the chain, but they are there to help if there's questions and concerns. They can take in questions and help with that. So I don't have any significant big issues to discuss or upcoming changes to share with you all. I'll mention a couple successes. Captain mentioned American Jazz. I mentioned the deployment to the hurricanes. You've had some members in the region deploy to Alaska to be an interpreter. You've had members deploy to go help with health concerns, so at the Academy and at the Coast Guard headquarters building to serve in roles and supporting, as Coast Guard and Public Health Service officers had to move around and do other things, we were able to use some backfill of auxiliaries. So there are a number of auxiliaries, including 2 of your own, that went and participated in that way. Took a look at AUX data. Certainly, as you know, numbers are down, even comparative to last year, to last year's numbers. However, numbers are there. Members are participating. Members are putting in hours, certainly lots of training hours, leadership hours. Those are things that we'd expect. But vessel exams are coming, patrol hours are happening, training is happening. So I'm really glad to see that, and I know it's been a challenge, but I can't thank you enough for being the leadership team that continues to encourage and support that, to keep us going to and through another challenging year, right? Let's not fool ourselves. It's still challenging. It's going to be hard again this coming year and this fall to keep the excitement going. So just reflect back on those successes this year. Ask folks to look at what they've done. Start thinking about what can be done next year. What are we planning for next year? Captain mentioned that she brought all of her senior staff together to talk about planning, to figure out strategically what makes sense. They've got limited resources. Her budget shrinks every year. She spent a lot of her budget this year on standing up the stations, which meant other program areas didn't have the funding it normally did. Travel was reduced. There are a lot of issues so her leadership team comes together to identify what do we need to focus on? What are trouble areas? Where have we been focusing a lot of energy on here, but now we need to get back and focus here. And that's what I'm trying to ask you all to do in that leadership package that was handed out yesterday, and that work that team did, identified and talked about flotilla level operational plans. Don't be fooled. Don't let anyone get scared when we're talking about that. We're not talking about a big 4-page document. We're not talking about an instruction or policy letter that looks like this with a background and a purpose and all that stuff. We're talking about the flotilla leadership or the division leadership getting together and thinking just 20 minutes over coffee. Where do we want to focus this year? We want to make sure we get people, for example, we want to make sure we get people back out to these 3 marinas. Okay, we need to focus on that. We know that we haven't been out, no one's really patrolled out on this lake in a while. Let's make sure we find time to invite someone to come down and get out on that lake and encourage patrolling out on that area. That's what we're talking about. Put it down on paper, put it on a napkin, put it in your heads, but make an effort to think about that, right? You have such limited resources. Let's also be understanding of that, right? Resources are limited, time is limited. So push if you must, but I ask you to push members and staff officers to think differently about what's going on. Don't let the same old happen. Don't. Because one thing we definitely know is this COVID, the pandemic, has shifted so many things about our culture, our collective American culture. Recreating and vacationing has changed for many, many people. Certainly, we talked about this in the spring. More people on the water, different people on the water in paddlecraft versus traditional powerboats. So I really cannot emphasize more the need to think creatively about using resources in a way that gets to the entire boating public. When you get an approach and talk to the entire boating public, young, old, different races, different cultures, different people, different philosophies, you're going to get a recruitment that reflects that as well, right? Because we're going to talk about the big D, and I don't mean Dallas, and that's diversity, right? That's one thing that this will likely be my last year as your director. It may not, but it may be. So my last year's director, I want to move into talking about diversity in those concepts, because don't get hung up on that word and think that it's about race or gender. To me, with the reality, when I look at the auxiliary, the diversity issue really is diversity of thought and diversity of perspective. and experience. And that's what you all have in spades, right? You have that. You've got such a broad range of people with experience and history, but I also know that's typically not something that you're highlighting and emphasizing and bringing forward. I do hear stories of younger members that are frustrated when leadership says, oh, no, we tried that and it didn't work. Well, maybe you tried that 10 years ago when the technology was different. Maybe you tried to do a Facebook group 5 years ago when people weren't using Facebook so much, you know? Maybe you don't try Facebook this time, maybe you move to Instagram. I hear that a lot, that frustration from younger and new members. And I know that you have all in your careers seen and experienced some of that. And that's okay, right? If something doesn't work, it doesn't work. But make sure you're helping that person understand why it didn't work. And then be brainstorming, as leaders, brainstorming to say, well, how could we make it work now? Right? That's what's expected. That's what we need. And that's how we bring forth those new ideas and bring forth that diversity of thought and energy into the group. And when you bring forth that thought, and when we talk about finding new places to go, yeah, when you go to this different marina, you're going to get a different clientele. And that different clientele is going to open the door to something else. You know, when you bring in more female members and get more female members into your boat crew program, then they're going to probably say, oh, you know what, I've got a group of friends that are the female realtors group. And then you're going to have a connection into this group, right? So that's how the need and that desire to talk about affinity or minority groups, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the need or anyone driving anyone to get a number to say that you're wrong for not having, a more air quotes, politically correct, diverse looking group, right? That's not what we're asking about. And when we talk about diversity in the diversity programs, it's not a number, it's not about quotas, it's not about any of those really negative, awful things that some people want to assign to the concept of diversity. Think about it and educate others. The easiest way to do it is to talk about diversity of thought and experience. And again, that's what you all have in spades in the auxiliary. Use that diversity, use that background. On that note, one of the things that was a really great highlight that's ongoing right now from the hurricane response, talk about diversity of experience, is we had a great example recently of the use of the skills bank. So some of you may remember that from a long time ago when they sort of stood it up, and I'm sure everyone got excited about it, and you said, oh, the Coast Guard's going to use us for all these exciting things. I'm going to put in my skills. Some of you that are newer, you just remember putting on your membership forms what specialty areas you were interested in or knowledgeable about, and that is in the forms. It's not still on the membership forms. It still goes into aux data, but I'll admit the Coast Guard didn't really use that information very much, and many people don't know. And part of it was the aux data was challenging to get into. Aux data 2 is a bit easier. We can pull those lists a lot easier. But in very recent history, a member of District 8, his name is Dawson Mabry, was called up specifically from the command post in St. Louis because he has knowledge and experience in high voltage electricity lines, right? He's a lineman. So what do we know about what's happening down in Ida right now? You've got power lines down, and we're talking about months sometimes, and some of these smaller places could be out without power for many, many weeks. And so the Coast Guard certainly the Coast Guard has contact with the power companies. Certainly the Coast Guard knows how to get an expert in there. But what the Coast Guard sometimes needs is someone on our team in a blue uniform that is there to just sort of really be the subject expert or just sort of the truther to say when that power company tells you they can't do it, this auxiliarist might be there whispering in the commander's ear going, well, yeah, they can do that. Or no, they're right, but they're selling you half the information, right? So sometimes you need a truther. And not in a bad way. Truther is a negative word in some circles, but someone to give the truth there. And so that's something that just happened, and that happened because there was an auxiliarist that's assigned to be in that command post that is now part of the District 8 Hurricane Response Plan. Includes an auxiliarist right away when there's an area command in response to any activity, particularly a hurricane. There's an auxiliarist that gets orders and goes to that command post and is embedded and is working to find the right people. They're working with the DSO EMs, they're working with the Commodores to get the right members in the right places. And this was a great example of that. So I share that to certainly encourage all of you to go back into, you do it yourself, or your friendly IS officer can help you. But you do it yourself at Aux Data if you're able to. You can update your your information codes. I'm not sure what they're called. But certainly understand this is not making a wish list. Like if you have experience in that area, indicate that, make sure that's updated or changed, or take yourself off if you're not an expert in that field anymore, or you don't work in that field anymore. But I would expect, I know the Commodore is going to talk about it, an effort to use that a bit more and to help for me, and that's one of my homework from this trip, would be to talk to the sector, talk about finding ways for me to share the information in that skills bank with the units so that they can find somebody. Because it could be as simple as the Coast Guard spends money sending Marine inspectors. They spend money to learn how to do welding, to learn how to do X-ray exams on welds, to learn how to ultrasound welds, right? That's what we do. But we don't have that expertise. We send members out to learn that. Well, maybe you've got somebody that's a master welder or master electrician sitting right next to the MSU or MSD. And that person can come in and maybe not give a formal training, but just help those folks out. Help them fill in the gaps of those things they need to learn and understand. Because as you know, and certainly when you think about hurricane or tornado or flood response, Coast Guard officers are called upon to know and understand a wide range of things, right? Master of none or jack of many trades. And in response in particular, we have to have a basic understanding of so many things. And so if we have an auxiliarist that can just come and talk about it, or maybe just answer the phone and answer a question on a Saturday afternoon, then we need to try to find a way to build that together, and the skills bank is the way. And I'll acknowledge that it really didn't get looked at very much. And so this has put some energy back in my step, and Commodore will talk about it, but he and I had a long conversation about it, and definitely going to start working on that aspect. Sorry, I've got a lot of scrappy notes here, and I'm jumping around on myself. Let me jump back to the OTO messages from Mr. Tracy, and something that the captain mentioned I wanted to hit on, and I know this is something he would want me to share with you. When she's talking about the PFD changes and existing PFDs still being serviceable, she used the word good and serviceable, okay? I want you all to be very conservative with that term good and serviceable, because we see, and the OTO has seen it, I have seen it, many times when that question comes up, what's good, what's serviceable, what should be removed? You have to err on the side of safety and caution when it comes to these things, right? Same thing with uniforms. When you're talking about a serviceable uniform, err on the side of professionalism, right? So if there is a life jacket that's a bit faded, but all the straps are nice and tight and strong, and the reflective is on, that's good and serviceable. It's a bit faded. But when you start having multiple problems, you've got a scratch here, maybe a tear there, but it still seems like it'll work. It certainly still would float and hold weight. You're approaching that realm of let's replace it. Particularly as you know, right? Not every member is going to listen to you and replace it. But if you're the expert, if you're the safety person standing there and saying, hey, this really is not quite serviceable anymore, it needs to be replaced, or you're really approaching the end of the life of this preserver, then they're most likely going to listen to that, right? You want to use that position authority. Frankly, you have some position authority there in that safety check to gain compliance in that way. Don't be afraid to say this is not serviceable anymore. Err on the side of safety there. Okay, you don't need to be a friend. You don't need to save somebody money. You don't have to, that's not your job. Your job is to get unsafe things off of people and out of the water and protect the boating public, okay? So same thing with your own gear. I know you guys, gear checks are happening. There's those same thing for gear checks and your personal gear. If you've got members that just can't afford or need replacement gear, or you've got those things, bring that forward to the division. I know there's tons of materials hanging around in the divisions out there. And then if absolutely we can't find it somewhere in the pack, then we can talk to the OTO, and we have certainly money for safety gear. But no auxiliarist should be running around with any gear that's anywhere close to being unserviceable. Just make sure we're looking at that and being very strict with those safety gear checks as well. The OTO has been advised by me, and he's talked to the Chief QE. I've talked to the Commodore about the fact that come springtime, I want to see multiple training events happening. My pocketbook, if you will, is going to be wide open. Okay, we've been certainly shut down quite a bit. There's been quite a bit of a layoff just in terms of operations and training. The money is there. We now have, Captain mentioned, the boathouses and the change to stations. That is going to significantly change the interaction that you all have with the Coast Guard. I guarantee it, okay? Because frankly, now you have someone whose job is to run that station. You have a petty officer in charge who knows and understands and feels empowered to be that voice and to make partnership and make that guidance with the auxiliarists in their area and be working there. That's just a different feeling than when it's someone who's a supervisor. That's just the reality of it, right? But when you're the OIC, you have a much different feeling and you have a much different personal responsibility. So I know that will be very different. There's a lot more focus there. Bosun Tracy is a great one to help with that connection, but that will be much easier. So anyway, so I said, hey, let's start talking about training because we have a number of people going into re-year, right? We're going to continue to have these re-year issues. We're going to get people out of re-year in the spring. And so I said, let's talk about some training events, and I've got money. So if we need to move coxswains around, if we need to move QEs around, if you need to move people that just want to get experience, if you've got someone who's just maybe thinking about boat crew, then let's get that person to one of these events and get them some experience. This is not just going to be about QE check rides. It's going to be a training opportunity. And then I thought, well, hell, right? Why not open this up as big as we can? Because if you have someone that wants to do program visits or you've got someone that wants to do vessel checks, it's always good for them to get experience in other places with other trainees. So there's an opportunity there as well. And along those lines, I would say also, during the year at any time, recognize the value of getting training and experience in another area. The Coast Guard does that quite a bit. We send trainees to different units because you see different things, and you just frankly have a different experience with a different trainer, right? And that is something that we understand is a huge value. I would encourage you to think about that, and as I bang on the podium, to encourage you all to spend the money that is acquired in your accounts, spend the money that your dues are providing to you, then if a unit's going to send somebody to training someplace, that may be an option for it, okay? Think wisely, but that may be a way to really expand cooperation. Division commanders, certainly you might want to be working within your division. I know some of you are very close, some of you are spread out, so it's different for every division. I understand that, I recognize it. But be prepared to think about that, get some thoughts going. Mr. Whitaker is certainly on notice to make sure that happens, and one of my directions actually was to make sure that each of those stations are at least involved in some way, right? That we're asking that station to be involved, whether that's at the station, whether that station trailers a boats over, or just send somebody down to participate and be there as part of it. That's one of the charges I gave, and so I'm excited to see what happens in the spring. But the money is there. Let's spend it, okay? And I would say I know that the OTO helped out with that SOP guidance, and certainly want to thank Captain Beach for the leadership on that. That was a significant need. And I want to make sure that for those that don't understand, I mean, we are talking weeks of time. That's a lot of time and energy to take care of this. It was engaging in multiple units, multiple times, multiple drafts, of course, right? I think about writing a document is always a lengthy process, but there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of mental time and energy and focus that goes into it, and that should, I hope you understand what that means. That's a demonstration of her commitment to creating a better connection, to creating a safer connection with the auxiliary, and making sure that you all understand and feel the desire and commitment, again, the commitment to that work with the auxiliary and the integration with the Coast Guard. Because the more coordinated and careful and prepared that guidance is and the training is, means the more engagement there's going to be, and certainly the more benefit and more satisfaction both sides are going to get out of this relationship. And so I can't thank her enough for that work. And I'll close by just reflecting on the fact that tomorrow is Patriots' Day. And I recognize that ideally that day is meant to remember those that were lost on that day. I know that some areas are starting to shift the thought of that Patriot Day. In fact, my hometown has shifted their 4th of July fireworks to Patriot Day. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but they're having a celebration tomorrow with fireworks. But it's for those of you that were in the auxiliary before 9/11, I hope that you remember what it was like and you know the changes that happened, because that's an important thing to understand in the auxiliary, where the Coast Guard is, right? So I remember those days back before 9/11, and we were really a lot about duck washing and oil spills and life saving. And it was great, and we were so happy with ourselves, and we were the lifesavers, and we were the peacekeepers, and it was fantastic. And then this day happened, and everything changed. Fundamentally, everything changed, right? Certainly, duck washing still happens. Vessels still get inspected for safety issues. However, there's always this blanket that now, when we shifted into the Department of Homeland Security, there was a different feeling and a different appreciation for what the Coast Guard does and how we're part of that big blanket and whole cloth that protects this country. And so don't lose that thought, right? That the auxiliary is part of that great blanket of protection and security. And of course, it's going to be in direct connection with Coast Guard units and supporting. If you've got culinary assistants working on a cutter, that cutter could not get underway, like the cutter Muskegum this summer, could not get underway without auxiliaries serving on board. It frankly could not. There are not enough culinary assistants in the Coast Guard, culinary specialists in the Coast Guard. There was a hole that could not be filled without auxiliary. That cutter would not be able to get underway. Right? That's happening not just in Muskegum, it happens within Osage, it happens on Chippewa, it happens here all the time in the region, it happens in Alaska, it happens off of the coast of Haiti, it happens all across the world, that the Coast Guard Auxiliary needs to be there to support those issues, right? So there's, of course, your direct connection, and you should feel proud of that connection. Directly at the units, helping out, just being there, taking the effort off of the front desk, letting an auxiliary sit at the front desk of MSU Paducah means that other members can focus on the things that need to get done, right? But don't forget that boating safety and public engagement is another very, very, very important part of that fabric, of that weave, of that protection. Because not only as patrolmen out there on the water, keeping eyes open, we hear of and we know what happens. There are reports that go up to the command centers that go, we see something kind of odd, or we saw something off. You know, or maybe those patrols are calling into the local or state agencies with safety or security concerns. And then also, of course, getting our boating public to boat safely, to be safely, and to look out for the waters right? Not to pollute. Let's talk about pollution, right? To stop polluting, to prevent zebra mussel spread, to all of those issues that you're doing to help keep the public safe, keeps this country safe. Because believe it or not, all of those things build in together, okay? So you are part of that great fabric. You are part of that great Homeland Security mission that we have now. And you are still certainly part of the duck washers and peacekeepers, and we love that. But you are part of a bigger security blanket that protects this country. So thank you, as always, for that. Again, I thank you from my boss and my boss's boss, and I know the Commandant, if he were here, would say all the same things. Thank you for your hard work, your dedication, and volunteerism. And thank you, as we come into election season, all of you that are about to step up into new roles, all of you that are continual roles, can't really applaud that anymore. So with that, I'll close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commander. Now I'd like to bring up to the podium Commander Jennifer Andrew.
Okay, first off, Commander Jennifer Andrew, MSU Paducah. I've been there now about 3 months, and thank you, Commander Hemmerman, for inviting me, and then thank you all as well for having me here. I'm super excited to be at a unit that has Coast Guard Auxiliary again. So my first introduction to the Coast Guard Auxiliary was actually before I even got commissioned. I spent Sea Spy summer in essence, so before I went off to OCS, I was still in college. We spent a summer in New London, and I fondly remember him. The Dorsays and their son actually he had just graduated from OCS and he was writing for flight school, and he was in the auxiliary with his parents before he joined the Coast Guard and went off to OCS. And so they actually taught us nautical science, very little bits, and taught us line tying and all these different things, and they were just so fun and interacted with us so well to kind of prepare us for what to expect when we did get to go off to OCS. And then I went off to a cutter. We definitely didn't see an auxiliary. I was in the engine room. Sometimes we didn't see land for a long time. So then I went to Florida, and oh my Lord, Florida, tons and tons and tons of auxiliary. And I didn't know it at the time, but I'm fairly certain that he was probably a flotilla commander because he was this Marine about this size. And I don't know his age, but I could have sworn he was, in his 20s, but probably not so much. He had served a long time ago in the Marines, but he was just as fiery, probably as the day he went off and joined the Marines. But he had 2 little stripes, so I'm assuming he was probably a flotilla commander. But at that time, I was a JG. I didn't know anything. All I knew is that when I went to this man and said, hey, we have this Marine event that's coming up. They're going to be doing these boat races, and we need some boats out there. He said, you tell me what you need, and we'll have them out there. And every time it was, hey, what do you need? We'll have them out there. I also got to go through all of my first ICS classes taught by Coast Guard Auxiliary. So, that was my introduction kind of to the Marine safety field. And then after that, I went off to the Gulf for many, many years in Port Arthur and Lake Charles. And it's great. There are a few auxiliary there, but not really a whole lot, 3 or 4. I don't even know if they had any assets. And I was an inspector. We didn't really do anything with the auxiliary at that point in time. So when I got up here and I found out, oh my Lord, we've got 3 flotillas, and Miss Debbie's here, Miss Gina's here, and Mr. Sam is sitting way back in the back. He's hiding back there. But, we've got all of these amazing folks that just volunteer their time to help us out. And like the captain said, about 5 weeks after I arrived on scene, we have this boat that is extremely far out of the channel. And then I also come to find out that while it's not Florida, we have 2 very huge lakes and a whole lot of recreational boaters that clearly notice that this is kind of not like the others. And so also a big change from going from the Gulf to inland rivers. There's not, 10, 20 Coast Guard boats and, 100 coasties that are going to show up on your door the next day unannounced. They're far away. We have 2 boats, but sometimes either they might not be operational, we can't get them in the water, or we don't have enough staff to put them in the water. And at the end of the day, we only have 1 boat at Paducah that we probably could put in the water. So we ended up for 9 days in a row having to do safety zone enforcements. And at the end of the day, if we didn't have the auxiliary there, there's no way we would have kept those recreational boaters away. And we do know for a fact that, they were keeping them away. As soon as, if they had to go, sometimes we were also using them to kind of transport our inspectors or people onto the vessel so they could do some things. I don't know if the recreational boaters had a little whistle, but as soon as they left, the recreational boating traffic would kind of quadruple. There'd be the 1 or 2, but as soon as the aux left, literally it was just the boat was flooded with people that wanted to get as close as they could. And at one point in the evolution, there was actually a barge that came, dropped anchors into the channel, and then set up some winches, tied it onto the back end of the American Jazz, and we're pulling. So you have all these lines, and you've got all these wreck boaters that are wanting to get close. And even at that time, 1 Coast Guard, blue suitor asset out there everything was the Coast Guard Auxiliary. That day that it came off, we had 3 in the water for most of the day, and ultimately we ended up with a 4th. 4 Coast Guard auxiliary boats in the water to 1 Coast Guard 29, and that one didn't even get out there till the later half of the day. So literally we would not have been able to do that without the auxiliary. And so I'm just so excited. There's a lot that the flotillas are doing soon, depending on how COVID does. We will hopefully get an aux air asset, and then we also have some Sea Scout opportunities and vessels, and even myself. So I spent 9 days early on at the lake, and then I was like, man, I need to get a jet ski. So I bought a jet ski. And now I spend a whole lot of time at the lake. But I also did take a recreational boating safety class, so I now understand all of the channel markers and all these other things, because, again, I was an engineer. We didn't know all of that stuff. And then also I got my PWC inspected, so I have a fancy Coast Guard Auxiliary inspection sticker. And so hopefully we'll do a lot more of those engagements. And it's interesting because, Commander talked about that integration, and that's one of the biggest things that I want to do. I had such a amazing, positive, interaction with the auxiliary early on in my career, and I want all of the staff at MSU Paducah to have that same experience when they leave, to have all these different interactions. And so I know I've talked with the flotilla commanders and Miss Debbie as well, and we've got tons and tons of plans that are in here, and I'll be talking with them, and hopefully we can do some different engagements, going out and doing things, and at the end of the day, I think sometimes folks don't realize that are in the Coast Guard anyways that are young. It's like, man, these guys, you can go to a boat show, you can go hang out at a marina. Like, what kind of day of work is that? You get to go hang out at a marina, see some really cool boats. Sometimes people spend a good chunk of money on these boats. There's no way we're ever going to be able to afford one, so you might as well go look and kind of drool over somebody else's stuff. So, yeah. But super excited about that. And like I said, I'm just glad to be here and glad to be, here amongst all of you guys that, like I said, you've kind of sacrificed a lot to be here, and to be doing this mission and making sure that our recreational boating community stays safe. So thank you.
Thank you, Commander. All you have to say is help, and they'll be there. So they know that. So, okay, at this time, I'd like to take a 15-minute break. Is that okay with everybody? All right? We'll hold.
second that motion.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let's take 15. Yeah, let's be back at 10:15. All right? Thank you. Could I have everybody sit, please?
No, I'm gonna wait for your second announcement, then I'm gonna go over there and chase them away again. Yeah, somebody's gotta be your bulldog.
That's what you're there for. All right, thank you, everybody. Now we can resume our program. I would like to call Command Master Chief Clayton up to the podium.
Thanks, sir. Boy, I'm really glad we had a commercial break, because you hate to go right before the commercial break, right? Hey, everybody, my name is C.C. Clayton. You read that right. It is literally just 2 C's. I had hippie parents. I grew up on a houseboat that they made out of pontoons and built. Definitely not auxiliary inspected or would pass muster at all. If you want to know more of that story, I'll meet you afterwards, right? And so, obviously, I'm new to DTRAIN. I missed it last time. Really regretted that. Thanks for inviting me back. And so I just wanted to kind of take this time to kind of introduce myself, and I'll tell a sea story, because I love telling sea stories, right? An auxiliary sea story. And so everybody probably knows what the Command Master Chief does. I kind of picture it as the little people that kind of have their ears to the deck plate and sit on captain's shoulders. I don't know which side I'm on, but hopefully the good side be able to tell what she needs to know at the deck plate level. Got there last year during the middle of the pandemic, and honestly have loved the area, loved the people, and honestly love the mission. It's something that's, I've never been on the inland rivers, let alone, I'm in D8, hurricane responses and all that kinds of stuff like that, but that whole inland rivers is just so amazing, you know? And it really does, as been mentioned many, many times, the auxiliary owns that piece of that river, so it's kind of cool. I joined in '97, and I was on the Coast Guard cutter Botwell. If there's any old-time sailors in here. Yeah, were you? Yeah, white needle to death. It was amazing. I was on there for a long time, waiting for public affairs school, right? Went to public affairs school, went to San Diego, opened up the public affairs detachment down there. It was pretty amazing. Did time in LA, did time out in Hawaii for a while. I went got out, did the reserves. I don't know if there's been any reserves in here or not, but I did the reserves, and I got my English degree. I wanted to be the person with like the patches on his shoulder and talking about Chaucer, you know, and that kind of stuff. Well, that didn't work out, so I came back into the Coast Guard. I did recruiting command, kind of seeing how that is made and the challenges. You talked about recruiting, you know, the challenges of trying to get anybody in your organization and keep them in the organization, so that was kind of cool. I did the Coast Guard magazine. You remember when we had a Coast Guard magazine? Well, I was the last editor-in-chief of the Coast Guard magazine before someone kind of bald like me turned it off, and we went to social media, and so that was kind of cool to be able to be in charge of the Coast Guard magazine. I was the public affairs specialist for the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, Master Chief Levitt, and so I got to see at the top levels of the organization how the butter's made or not made or so forth, which was kind of cool. I went to Chiefs Academy. I was an instructor there. I was the assistant school chief there, and so it's a lot of leadership, team building, and all that kind of good stuff, and then had the opportunity to put on badge, which I never thought I would be able to do, and let alone put on Master Chief, and so here I am, one of those kind of things. Been around for a long time, and look forward to kind of moving forward in this upcoming year. So I told you I was going to tell you a sea story, right? I mentioned San Diego. That was where I kind of cut my teeth as a third class, made second class. Well, tomorrow, 9/11, I was driving into 9/11. My boss was gone. I was the sole person going into the shop. I hear the news, and of course, I'm just barely off my training wheels as far as knowing how to do my job as public affairs. And so I get into the office. I'm super nervous. We have, and I'm trying to remember his last name, Mike was his first name, an auxiliarist that used to help us out all the time. He would come in and he'd help do like, pie program type stuff, bring kids in, showcase them. He was pretty awesome as far as being able to work with the media, definitely more knowledgeable than I ever was, right? And so I show up in the office, I don't know what to expect. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. We have, the Navy there that we're trying to protect with one bridge in and out, and so the Coast Guard was super active with that. And the auxiliary was super active in trying to maintain those safety zones and keep boaters away and just keep an eyeball on everything, right? And so I get in the office and trying to figure it out. About an hour and a half, 2 hours later, in comes Mike, and he pretty much sat me down, calmed me down, and was the reason that maybe I'm probably still in the Coast Guard and didn't get instantly fired there, right? But he gave me that confidence boost that I needed to say, hey, you have this. Yeah, you're new, but you're not alone, you know what I mean? And so just going through that kind of time, that was my first exposure, because on the Botwell we didn't have auxiliaries around, And so that was my kind of first exposure with how important and awesome the auxiliary is. And so I'll just leave you with that. That's my first experience with the auxiliary. But that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions with me. I'll be around. I have a face for radio and a voice for it too. But and look forward to seeing you tonight. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Master Chief. Now, from Marine Safety Detachment, Cincinnati, Lieutenant Olmstead.
All right. Always get stuck behind the real charismatic guy.
It's my hair.
Absolutely is your hair. All right, thank you, Commodore, Captain, Commander, for having me here. This is my first D-Train. Just give you guys a little background on myself. Originally from Vermont, about 8 miles from the Canadian border, right on Lake Champlain. I'm not sure if many of you know where that is, but there is auxiliary up there, and my grandmother's second husband was part of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, so I guess that was my first kind of introduction to it. I joined the Coast Guard in 2003 and was brought to the Coast Guard cutter Seneca, which is a 270-foot cutter out of Boston. Well, it isn't in Boston anymore, but Boston, Massachusetts at the time. So it was close to home. It was a good time. My high school sweetheart and I actually got married that year, so that was going on 18 years of marriage. I need to remember that in the next couple of weeks. So from Boston, I went down to Miami after a Marine Science Technician A school. So I was there for 4 years, and then I went to my dream billet, which was Seattle, of which I'll have another sea story here in a little bit on my real introduction to the auxiliary. From there, I went to Alaska, where my wife and I welcomed 2 small girls. So I have Alaskan babies. And from there, we immediately went to Louisiana for another 3 years, then down to Key West for 3 years. And now we are here in Ohio. Technically in Ohio, we live in Kentucky. Never been to Ohio in my life, but I am absolutely loving it since we've got here a couple of months ago. So get to take the kids to Reds games, going to museums, the zoo, looking forward to Oktoberfest. We got the Bourbon Trail. Everything is kind of right up our alley. Plus it gets cold. So everyone kept telling me I would acclimate to Florida and Louisiana, but the thick Vermont blood just never really took. So yeah, so my Coast Guard career has been pretty long. Like I said, I went to MSTA school and then became a warrant officer after a chief, and then I went warrant to lieutenant. So if you notice that I have less manners than these folks, except for Master Chief, it's because I never went to OCS or the academy. So forgive me for that. My first aux experience where I was truly terrified was when I was in Seattle, and it caused me to go into a bit of an auxiliary shell for a while. I got to Seattle, and everyone kept talking about how there was a lot of auxiliary air patrols, and I had figured fixed-wing Cessnas, things like that, right? And then somebody mentioned that one of the auxiliaries owned a helicopter. And I thought, I'm in Seattle, the only person that really needs a helicopter is Bill Gates. So I thought I was going on an auxiliary patrol with Bill Gates. It turned out it wasn't Bill Gates. So I hopped on board a helicopter with my friend who was absolutely terrified of flying. And in the cockpit were 2 cardiologists, one of which owned the helicopter and the other one was being trained. And it was not long after 9/11 and the Marine Transportation Security Act was in place. So one of the auxiliaries' missions was to do overhead flights around Puget Sound and look at fence lines of facilities and just kind of make sure that everything is in good shape. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful Seattle day, not a cloud in the sky. You could see Mount Rainier in the background. The city was right in front of you. He took us right around the Space Needle, and it was absolutely perfect. I mean, perfect. And then we went back to the airfield. And right as we were about to land, he decided to have a training mission with the training pilot, where they decided to start banking left and banking right and going forward and going back. And I was a little nervous. And then I looked over at my buddy, who was, just not a fan of flying whatsoever. He gets on an American Airlines flight. He immediately orders 3 vodka tonics just to get him where he needs to be. And he's plastered against the wall. Every ounce of blood just out of his face and shaking. So I politely requested that they set the bird down and let us exit before they continue their training mission. So I was able to stretcher my friend back to the vehicle, and we got out of there. But so that was kind of the expanding version of what I knew to be the auxiliary at the time. And kind of my reintroduction, there was kind of a auxiliary ghost time for me in Alaska. I just had a traveling job where I went around the whole state. And then when I was down in Louisiana, much like Commander had mentioned, crawling through barges. This is not usually the auxiliaries thing, but it's fun. We do actually have some in Cincinnati that like to do that. But when I went down to Key West, there is an enormous auxiliary presence down there. So that's kind of my reintroduction to it. And Cincinnati, when I got here, it was something like I had never seen before. The relationship that the previous supervisor, the guy that I replaced, Lieutenant Commander Jim Brendel, had established with the auxiliary in our area is fantastic. And I can only hope to continue that relationship and to build upon that relationship, and really excited to do so. I just want to give a short recap of some recent things that we've been doing in the Cincinnati area. We had an area maritime security exercise that basically simulated terrorists taking over large passenger vessels on the river. And we were to basically initiate the first 4 or 5 hours of what a response would look like for that. So we coordinated with local, state, and federal officials, including the FBI. We had hostage negotiators. And all through that time, we had auxiliary participation. Most notably, Mr. Bob Welch, who may have had a bit too much fun playing the terrorist in the simulation cell, but it was appreciated. We've had some training for the auxiliary folks. We've had 3 boards, qualification boards for pollution responders. We're also looking to ramp up uninspected passenger vessel inspections in the area. So I had a lot of experience with that down in Key West. There's over 1,000 uninspected passenger vessels in the Keys. So I hope to take some of the knowledge and experience that I developed there and work to get some folks qualified down in Cincinnati, and get them out there and spread the word. It's one of the best ways to ensure safety. So usually folks with their own boats like to heed safety warnings most of the time. People that pay other folks to get onto their boat don't necessarily heed any kind of warning, right? So arming these UPV captains with as much information and knowledge as possible is key in ensuring that their passengers, as well as themselves, can stay safe out there. So some goals that we have, as Captain mentioned, we've shifted to a Louisville small boat station, which unfortunately took 2 vessels away from the Cincinnati area. So I've been desperately searching places to find people who have vessels and I think I got it. So we're going to encourage that as much as possible. But not only that, the actual exercises with Louisville and the small boat station, they're not going to stop. And it's just a phone call down to the sector to coordinate exercises, training events. Obviously, when we have real-world events such as Riverfest that we just had, where 500,000 people come down to the river, and we've got folks like Doug and Woody that are manning patrol command and directing where vessels need to go, working in coordination with Coast Guard vessels. Those relationships are established, and one of my big goals while I'm here is to make sure that they're not broken simply because of a geographic shift in where the assets are. So we'll bring everybody together, we'll keep everybody together, and we'll build on what was there before me, and I look forward to each and every moment of it. So that's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Please pause for a commercial break. Good? All right. Now I guess it's my turn. And how do I follow these guys? It's tough. I'll tell you what, though, I can thank Commander Heyman for taking half of what I was going to say. But I appreciate that. I really do. Because no, she can say it much better than I can. But I am going to hit on a few things. First, I'm going to start off, while it's fresh on my mind, something about the EMAC team and the skills bank. So EMAC is Emergency Management Auxiliary Coordination Cell. The Commodores in 8 West and 8 Central and myself have been working together on this team most of the year already. So it stood up. We had our first exercise on Hurricane Ida. We were getting daily reports. It was working very well. Very impressed, very pleased with the outcome. With that being said, we had one member that was supposed to be here today deploy to be a check-in person. We have 2 culinary specialists there now. And she said before, the electrical line specialist. What the EMAC team is for things like this. Not just this, but when a hurricane comes in, usually 8 Coastal gets all the glory. So they get burned out. Like last year when they had 8 or 10 hurricanes come in, they were back to back on their command center. So that's the reason we set this up, because 8th District should operate as one team when it comes to something like that. So that's why Western and Eastern are going to team up with the Coastal. We're going to pull people from all regions to come to these places. So if you're interested in a deployment or interested in emergency management, we have a session tomorrow afternoon with Fritz Wasco, their DSO EM. This guy, when he opens his mouth, right over the top of my head. He is good at what he does, and he knows what he's talking about. So if you're interested, even just to get an idea what goes on, sit in on his class. He can also get you started on the preliminary of what it takes, because there are certain certifications, qualifications it takes to actually be considered for deployment. So with that being said, division commanders, take that back to your flotilla commanders and your members. Let them know, because we do have people that we don't even know about that might be interested in this. There are some specifics with the deployment that we can get into another time if that person is really interested. We also had, not because of the hurricane, they were nowhere near it, we had an auxiliarist deploy to Alaska, Coast Guard Alaska, to be a Russian interpreter. Isn't that cool? You know anybody that speaks a couple languages fluently? Let's get them in the interpreter corps. You do? Yes. Very good. Let's get them going. Let's get going, Clyde. So that's, and with that, That's where the skills bank comes in. Okay, we're going to start promoting that. Commander and I got together and we were brainstorming one day, and it's like a light bulb went off. Hey, why don't we find somebody, an auxiliarist, to go through the skills bank and catalog. If there's a hurricane, these people are qualified or able and willing to do this, and write it down for like each event. And they, of course, would overlap. So we're gonna employ an auxiliarist to go through the skills bank. So that's your all's homework. Go back to your units, have your people update the skills bank, and it's like she said, it's not a wish list. You know, I've worked in an office all my life, but hey, I'd like to go cook for somebody. Well, if you don't have cooking experience, you can't spend 2 weeks aboard a cutter or 2 weeks at a station. Not going to work. So make sure that they are qualified for the skills. And that's part of what we're going to do is we're going to go through that skills bank, find the people that might be able to do this, and then contact them and say, how are you able to do this, and do the particulars. So that's what we're going to start tomorrow, basically. Okay, everybody's worried about COVID, and rightly so. We've actually got the green light. Do any mission you want. We don't have the request forms to fill out anymore. We can do program visits, VEs, public affairs, all that stuff. Let's get our members back at it. It's time. I know there's still some concern, and I will always tell you, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. Be safe for yourself. Do a risk, a GAR score before you go out. If you have a PA event and there's going to be a number of people at that booth and you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. Wear your mask, social distance, but don't do it, okay? I don't want anybody getting sick just because they felt they had to go do something. Remember, we're all volunteers. But with that, we're all adults. We know how to take care of ourselves, okay? Make a common sense decision if you want to do it. Do a risk score on it and have at it. In-person meetings, same thing. Just make sure you can social distance. It would be, flotilla commander, division commander's call. I think there's still a directive on indoor mask wearing at meetings and stuff. So just, it's a simple thing. We're all doing it right here. Okay, it's no big deal. So, but let's get our members, let them know that, there's a lot of members like, well, I don't want to do it because they might shut us down again. Well, you know what? You could go to the grocery store. Would you not go to the grocery store because you're afraid they didn't have milk? Okay, let's get out there and do it. That's all it takes. Get out and do it. Be safe about it, though. Okay. The leadership plan that we talked about last night. Make sure your flotilla commanders get a copy of that. Go over it with them. Have it at the division meeting. Give it to all of them. Read it, be familiar with it, and then discuss it with them. Okay, that might really, if you do that with that plan and let them know that you're looking out for them or wanting to help them out, that might alleviate a lot of the problems, a lot of issues. We're all faced with the same issues no matter what division you're in. We all have that couple of members that just, they're just want to buck the system sometimes. I've been there, you've been there, you'll be there. Flotilla Commander School, you'll be there too. Okay? So just beware. You will run into some issues, but it's how you handle them is how it'll work out. Okay? And make it fun, really. Make it fun. Don't let it stress you out. We are volunteers. You get stressed out, you're taking it too seriously. Okay? That's my advice to you, because I don't let them stress me out. Change of watches. Okay, that's coming up fast, and it's going to get here sooner than you think. So let's start getting dates and venues. Get them up to me so that I can get them to Commander so we can schedule the gold side and ourselves. Okay. Talk to each other. or at least let your DCAPs know when they are as soon as you can, and they can make sure there's very little overlap, because that happens a lot. And it's expected. We got, you know, one for every month minimum. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to have a change of watch in July. At least I don't. Unless it's in Pittsburgh. I wouldn't mind going to Pittsburgh in July, but I don't want to go there in December, January. Okay, succession planning, mentorship, that's always been a topic at these conferences. I can't hammer it home enough, more than what the past Commodores have said. Succession planning is a big thing. I know that flotilla leadership class will probably hear a little bit about it tomorrow. Keep it in the back of your pocket. As soon as you get elected, think about your successor. It might be if you're a vice commander, think about someone you might want to bring with you. If you're the flotilla or division commander, think about your vice. Mentor them the whole time. The more communication you have with them, the easier the transition. Okay? Transition is key. You both want to be on the same page as you're transitioning. And if you're not, then you need to know that transition plan so you can get into it. I said this last night. It is tornado season, hurricane season, flood season. Let's make sure you get your phone trees out there and working. That's critical. If we had a flood in Middle Tennessee, fortunately there were no auxiliaries involved, no mishaps there. But that's not always the case. I believe when Ida went through, I think it was Louisiana had quite a few auxiliaries impacted with damage to their homes, along with a lot of Gold Side too. Okay, but make sure if there's a severe thunderstorm come through, and you know about what area it's in, and you know you got auxiliaries there, call them up and ask them, hey, are you okay? You know, just reach out. They will appreciate that. Okay. Understrength flotillas, we're down to 3. Randy, how many did we have?
I think it's 12.
12, just not very long ago. And now we're down to 3. So that's a good thing. Understrength is less than 12? 10. Under 10. Let's work on those other 3. That's where the mentoring comes into play. We've got a past Division Commanders Association that's been working with the understrength flotillas as division commanders and future flotilla commanders. Look to the people in front of you for help. Don't think that you can do it all, because I can guarantee you, I don't know it all. I looked to Randy, I looked to past Commodore Stroop for answers. You know, you've got a wealth of knowledge in front of you. Look to them, ask them questions. And if they don't have the answer you want, then they can help find you get the answer, especially the Past Division Commanders Association. They're out there. You may not know it, but they are in your flotilla and in your division. Okay, so our clergy program is gaining strength. It's a good thing. Gold Side loves it. So if you know of any clergy out there that would like to join and be part of that program, let's get them going.
I said we need it.
Yes.
We don't love it, we need it.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so for my sea story, I'm going to join you guys with the sea story. Cincinnati has the largest paddle sports event in the nation. 2,000 kayaks and stand-up boards. They shut the river down. The kayak is actually 9 miles. They shut the river down for like 12. No commercial traffic, no boat traffic, all kayaks. It's a sight to see. So this year I was afforded the opportunity to actually kayak myself. Now, I'm not in an Oxpad program or anything like that. I do kayak. So I thought, well, while I'm out there, I'll take my handheld radio. You know, if PATCOM needs me, they can call me up or I can call them. You know, no big deal. Unofficial, just give an update report. So I'm paddling out there, and I'm about 3/4 the way down, about 2 hours into the paddle. And I'm with my girlfriend and her granddaughter. And so I'm about a half a mile ahead of them. I wonder why, Well, so anyway, girlfriend's about this tall, so short stroke. So I'm going down, and I'm sitting there waiting for him, looking around. It's a beautiful day, and I get a phone call. I'm out in the middle of the river getting a phone call. So I answer it, and it's my girlfriend. She goes, we've got a body on shore. I said, what? She goes, yeah. She goes, I don't know if it's dead or alive, but it's not moving. Lieutenant, you remember this? Okay. So, where are you at? I don't know. I'm over here by shore. Well, you think about it, in that tract, there's 18 miles of shoreline. So anyway, I get on the radio, called PATCOM. Can you call me on my cell phone? So I didn't want this broadcast. Called, talked to him, told him what the deal was. They dispatched a 29 boat. He's just barreling up the river. And in the meantime, I find out that the body isn't where I thought it was. It's somewhere else. So I'm out in the middle of the river. Get that paddle going back and forth. The 29 boat comes up and says, make it quick. We got a body on shore. I said, I know, I called it in. So they're like, okay. So I get my girlfriend on the phone, and we're talking. She goes, and I'm trying to tell the 29 boat where they are. And I don't know where they are. So we're scanning the side, and then all of a sudden she goes, oh, they just got up and walked away. Apparently this young lady, fairly well dressed, had been out partying all night, and whoever she was with left her on the shore. And this was like 10:30 in the morning. And there was like 5 or 6 kayakers. They wouldn't get out of their boat because they didn't want to go up to a dead body. And they were just yelling and screaming at her, get up, get up. And finally she got up and walked away. So with that being said, I've always thought that the OxPad program is a very important program. For that reason, you get out there, take your handheld with you. You don't know. You honestly don't know what you're going to come up on. And you can call it in. Now, I was the only one, probably in that 2,000 boats, that had a handheld radio with them. Now, what would have happened to that lady had she been so inebriated she had just passed out? Those people on those kayaks would not get out of their boat to go check on her. Fortunately, she got up and walked away. But what if? And that's why I promote that program so much. So. And with that, that's probably all I've got, though I will probably remember something later. But I'll send you an email. How about that? Okay. Yeah, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here today, and I really appreciate your support and your dedication. So, with that being said, I will turn the podium over to our Chief of Staff for his report and the CGMA report. Thank you.
Had to have a district report. You guys don't mind, do you? It's just a little report. Shouldn't take more than a couple hours.
You got 10 minutes.
9 pages, 10 minutes. I can cut that. That's easy. Yeah. All right. I said this last time. The Commodore's aide doesn't report to me, so I have no idea. The Commodore's Planning Commission doesn't report to me, so I have no idea. No, both of them have been hard at work getting us ready for conferences for both this year and next year, and they're on target doing good things. The Commodore kind of stole our thunder as far as the auxiliary chaplain service. The chaplain's hoping to visit a couple of places, and he's still recruiting. They're still looking to get 15 more chaplains in our program. Our computer services guy, none of you know him, he's Randy Ventris. He won't tell me what he's doing, but I know he's hard at work keeping our web pages up and going. See, I told you. Diversity. The ADSO is attending the National Naval Officers Association Leadership Training and Professional Development Virtual Symposium. The symposium encourages participation in group symposiums in an effort to increase the retention of a diverse and talented workforce. Must be a Coast Guard auxiliary function. These events are valuable professional development opportunities that provide a forum for mentoring, networking, optimizing career success. And they're working on setting up new activities for award submissions, and of course they want to increase flotillas submitting awards for the DNACO awards and the other things that have to do with that. Our finance officer, he sends me the same report every month, which is he doesn't send me anything, he visits me in my virtual meeting, and his report is we are solvent. I think that's great. I think that's just great. That's food services. Our food services person has coordinated a lot of activities. They had our Aux CAs covering the galleys in 3 cutters, the Osage, the Ouachita, and the Muskegum. They have 1 new CA remaining to complete their sanitation course. They're planning an Aux CA Zoom pull together for those that showed interest in the CA program, and they're hoping to get enough of that going on so that in February they should be able to do some PQS sign-offs. They continue to recruit new members, and total hours for July, they had 681 hours on cutters. So they're doing pretty good. Human resources, the district gained 15 members and lost 6, so they had a net gain of 9. That's not bad for being almost shut down. So we're up to 952 members. We have 17 applications pending at the director's office, all submitted within the last 30 days, so that's doing good. The robo system is back up and running. And the percent of members in the AP status went down approximately 0.5%, which is good considering most of the 15 new members would still be in the AP status. Information systems. The focus this month has been on entering members for workshops that they have completed. And my minor plug here for the Aux Data 2 is they have had some that go in and go out and then go back in again. So if something's wrong, just contact your IS officers and they will continue to work it out. Obviously, divisions are still learning how to use the Aux Data 2. Our legal officer is busy keeping us legal, keeping the hotel contract straight, which I get to watch go back and forth, and that's hilarious sometimes. And for all of you, we have a workshop later on in this conference that he's going to be putting on. So if you want to know how to run a meetings and you have a chance, you might want to, stop by and see his thing. He asked me to copy his handout, so I happen to know he's got some pretty good information in his handouts. Publications. Our publications officer was standing up here a few minutes ago trying to make fun of us up here. I could tell he had his phone out, scanning everybody. So he's been busy doing things. He's gathering articles and information for the spring issue of the Heartland Guardian. He's received several newsletters from around the district as the auxiliary gets back to work. He has at least 5 PA, PB, and other interested parties are wrapping up an almost year-long class to improve auxiliary photography. He's going to try to get the names and run an article about that. He's going to do his cheerleading and his coffee talks to promote publications in the district and continue to work in producing content and keep the customers informed. Our secretary of records, a very shy and retiring lady, her report is she's keeping the minutes of the meetings and posting them as required. What more can you ask for a secretary than to be sure that there's a record of what you did? AuxPad. We've been doing good with that. Spring training was successful in opening the doors and getting interest. The plan is to start emailing out to divisions and flotillas to see if some training or online or known person could be set up. Interest levels are climbing for paddlecraft. Are you causing problems again?
Not me.
Okay. Anyway, interest is climbing, and so they're trying to get activities planned, and they are trying to get more people out to be with paddlecraft. Auxiliary Sea Scouts COVID-19 thing has put a stop to a lot of scouting, but of course, a lot of scouting is also getting back out there and doing things. They only have 6 of the 12 divisions have SO positions filled, so he's trying to get more of those. Really trying to get Sea Scouting, because keep in mind, when you get somebody involved in Sea Scouting and you get the youth, you also get adults, and then you can get them into the auxiliary. It's a growth issue. If you don't believe me, talk to a guy named Whitaker. He knows something about this. I mention that because when the senior Whitaker joined, he brought in 4 more Sea Scout people at the same time. And that was 30 plus years ago. The system works. So now that it's official, we should really take advantage of it. Marine safety. To increase the MSAM numbers and provide a gateway qualification to marine safety, we continue electronic training. We now have 18 MSAM qualified auxiliaries, which is a 280% increase in this qualification since 2018. We have also seen a 50% increase in other auxiliary-centric qualifications. Interestingly, we have seen increases in almost all marine safety and environmental protection qualifications during the same time. Additionally, recommendations for 2 marine safety training ribbons for qualified auxiliaries have been forwarded to the Director's office. We continue to train auxiliaries via telephone and Zoom who are working on their MSAM with the DSO-MS and other members working toward their AUX-MEs. Auxiliary participation continues to increase at Paducah, Pittsburgh, and Nashville, and will continue to be active at Tennessee. The boat shed at Huntington has offered to help Division 18 qualify their boat crew, which is greatly appreciated since there's no currently active auxiliary support in the area. We hope the increase in augmentation and auxiliary contact with the various MSUs and MSDs will continue. A few problems and solutions they're seeing is as the stand down subsides, training and morale are improving, work continues. Some things that are not working for them is some divisions are still trying to establish relations with their closest MSU, MSD. Long duration stand down has a negative effect on morale, and critical marine safety skills are deteriorating due to inactivity. So there's some things there that we can work on. Member training has been working on the conference planning team to figure out what training is needed and wanted and to arrange it to happen for this D-Train, and of course is already working on the training for the next D-Train. Things like an introduction that you'll see for this D-Train are an introduction to the DSOs, Robert's Rules of Order, AUX-PAT, AUX-COM, and of course a facility leadership course, just to name a few. Navigation systems. While they were out on patrol, they discovered that a day mark had fallen over and got a chance to report that and found numerous beached buoys. The ADSO suggested his obvious replacement. I think that fits right in with succession planning that we were talking about earlier. And here's a fun one for you guys. Our public affairs officer has been busy keeping our affairs public. I'm not too sure about that. Public education. NACON was canceled, postponed, so they were not able to attend the online training that occurred the weekend that NACON was scheduled for. They're not getting many reports, hint, hint. They need to talk to the SOs concerning this, and it appears the district online form for instructor qualifications is working. We have 1 new instructor, and he's aware of 2 new that are in the process. Public education classes are starting to be provided, and we still need to get better at participating and getting all of the flotillas in participating in public education. The state liaison office is vacant at this point in time. The vessel examination, we need to get more of our examiners out doing vessel safety checks. So far this year, we have 2,363 as of the time the report was written, vessel safety checks done, and we have 4 vessel examiners who are REYR. Okay, well, since we can do the vessel exams, we need to be out doing them and getting these people out of REYR. AUX Air, aviation continues with proficiency and qualification training. of current and new pilots, and air crew, and observers in the Kentucky and Middle Tennessee areas, with completion of the certification of 2 observers and air crew, and will continue with pilot qualifications. Conducting monthly squadron meetings via telecom, good response and participation. Scheduled visit from Air Station Mobile operations and Oxlow was received well by both our aviation and active duty partners from Air Station Mobile. Continued superb support and communication from the USCG at Sector Ohio Valley, particularly Bosun John Tracy. We don't know that guy. Very responsive, very supportive. So thank you, Sector. Bravo Zulu support from our outgoing Oxlow, Chris Smith, and Commander Heller. Excellent response and support from them both. Excellent communications from our district bridge, short and sweet. Still learning to manage time with the new AUX Data 2 system. Our flight.
Time's up.
Sorry, I got 2 more pages. Our flight safety officer notes that we have had 1 incident this month where a engine sputtered, but the pilot landed without incident, and it's being reviewed by the mechanic, and of course the information was sent up the leadership chain, and he continues to send out monthly safety articles. The Chief QE Coordinator points out that we need more work to be done to get all of our people checked yet this year. And since he has the microphone, he'd also like to point out that yesterday, while he was trying to arrange some things, the OTO asked how many more we already had in queue, check rides that is. And as soon as he knew that, he let me know that the account has been swiped, which means we have no more funding for QEs on this cycle. So just something to think about. Please ask for them. We'll do our best to get things. Also, don't forget the blockout that's been imposed. Incident management. Somebody already talked about our incident managed guy, but he has been working hard to share training and opportunities and to keep members informed of what training they need to be part of the incident response team. Our operations officer, operations have started throughout the district. We're getting a lot of notices of river closures and, of course, getting vessels to help out with those things. Our members are getting out on the water. When the American Jazz ran aground and needed watching, we began to mobilize our resources, but fortunately, the response getting it ungrounded, i.e. refloated, were faster than getting the entire district, but we already had multiple divisions getting involved in watching out for the American Jazz. We've also added a new position of an ADSOP little I, which is the interpreter, and to our staff, and that's Mr. Cliff Ogden. So if you're an interpreter and would like to be part of that program, please send your application, and I will be having him get in contact with you. Telecommunications has been setting up more high-frequency radio repeaters and explain how to use them and how the auxiliary can benefit from them. He has also set us up on ES Chat for push-to-talk capability for the operations, the district bridge, communications, and national bridge and staff. In closing, the district staff is here to help the flotillas and division staff officers. So if you have questions, please check your manuals first and then go up through your chain of leadership and management. Thank you. You like that? They had me get up here and put my computer up here for the CGMA, and then my computer sat up here so long that battery died. There we go. Almost forgot my cheat sheet notes. Coast Guard Mutual Assistance. is what CGMA stands for, of course. And they help out with things like education assistance, family assistance and support, disaster and emergency response. Coast Guard Mutual Assistance serves the entire Coast Guard community, that is to say, active duties, auxiliaries, civilian employees, immediate family, public health officers and chaplains, reserve members, retired military personnel, and surviving family members. So the CGMA covers a lot of people. There's a quick chart of what they did in 2020 with the COVID response. Another one here kind of shows, and here you can actually see the jump from 2019. We put in so much money, put in well over 127,000, and auxiliary assistance was 43-something thousand. In 2020, the auxiliary donations were 153,000 and 138,900 went out to auxiliary. So they do help not just the Coast Guard, but also our own, so it's a very good thing to contribute to. If you want to know how to make a gift, you can scan the code. You can also contact these people. Keep in mind, of course, though, that you can also contact Mike Phillips, who is one of our own district members, and he's very familiar with the program and can help you in that regard. I strongly encourage people to make a donation to the CGMA. It's a worthwhile thing to get involved with. All right, sir, I think that's when you want to call the next person who's going to plug his thumb drive into my computer.
All right, thanks, Chris. Okay, now it's going to be time for our illustrious district captains and their reports. First off, I would like to call up District Captain South, Ron Bono. You guys are sitting out of order.
I know.
No, they put us there.
Okay, we were asked to do this quickly, and for the membership that knows me, I'm good at long, quick is a problem, but I'll do my best. ADR South consists of, first of all, Division 11 out of Nashville, Tennessee. Existing division commander is Chris Jones. It's been announced several times in the last 2 days. I don't think we can offer enough congratulations, but Patrick Brown, who is a member of Division 11, Flotilla 05, is the auxiliarist of 2020 of the year. Well deserved. He's not only a valuable member of the production team, but he is to his flotilla and his division and the district. Well done, Patrick. Congratulations. Under the leadership of Vice Division Commander and ADSO and SO Scout Paul Fernandez, out of Division 11, is building a model scout program. They were recently involved in a 9-day summer cruise, and during that cruise, they assisted 3 separate boaters in distress. That ship consists of 14 scouts, 11 males, 3 females, 10 civilians, or 14 civilian adults, and 10 auxiliaries. So they're really working that program, and Paul is spearheading that. 9 scouts have already logged over 220 hours on the water, which is really an accomplishment. In August, Fred Gilman, the auxiliary unit coordinator with MSD Nashville, coordinated with 4 divisions of ADR South to come up with a primary and a secondary backup for MSD Nashville to work with and know who to contact by phone number, by telephone number, email address, and name on river closings and lake closings, so that it ends confusion as to who do we talk to. And even for the divisions, who do we talk to in MSD Nashville? There was a discussion, there was a plan laid out, it was presented to MSD Nashville, it was accepted, and now we have a working direction for this. With the recent flooding and destruction in Waverly, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half west of Nashville, Tennessee, and as Matt said earlier, none of our membership was involved with that. But at the last division meeting, we talked about calling trees. But Patrick Brown, Fred Gilman, and Randy Ventris, they're working on a plan to come up with a division-wide emergency response plan. And what's interesting, they also mentioned a digital phone texting calling tree. I don't know what all that means, but I think I'm very interested in that. I hope they succeed with putting something together, because that eliminates the phone calls, and text can be sent out. Are you okay? And they can text back and say yes or no. Division 12, Knoxville, Tennessee. Division Commander is Mike Miller. Flotilla 12-1 has Kevin Lindsay, is serving as a direct support to the Coast Guard recruiting office in Atlanta, Georgia, and he has been for the last couple of years. Has become a very valuable member to the Coast Guard. He visits, he is part of the national staff, and what he's working on now is a training program for other auxiliaries to follow and be trained with for recruiting the Coast Guard in their recruiting program. Brad Workentine is from Flotilla 12-5. I'm proud of him because I recruited him and got him into the chaplain program. He's very good. He serves the Coast Guard and visits members of the Cimarron, Chippewa, Ouachita, and Osage, as well as MSD Nashville. Brad is very dedicated to this chaplain program. For the flotilla, he is also a VE. In addition to doing VEs, he offers blessings of the boat individually. And being in the South, it's widely accepted and appreciated. And what he does is actually, he's got a typed prayer. And when he goes to do a blessing, he'll actually put his hand on the boat. Sometimes he kneels. And it's amazing to watch the bystanders that participate in this. Then he gives the boat owner, or operator, a copy of this typed prayer. I've actually seen a couple of boat owners ask him to sign it. They keep it in the boat. He's done a great job with the chaplaincy program for the auxiliary, or for the Coast Guard, and for our flotilla and division. Under the leadership of Tom Jumer, the Vice Division Commander, he continues to develop a much-needed service in support of the Coast Guard Marine Safety Division, Nashville, Tennessee, and the TWRA officers performing UPV six-pack inspections on fishing vessels and charters. They are as well checking for Captain Mariner credentials and their enrollment in a random drug check program. He is also, Division 12, is also in the process of placing boating safety information in 11 welcome centers in Tennessee, which is really a good idea. That's a PV program. And of course, that information consists of choosing right life jackets, safe PWC operation, using Coast Guard approved fishing charters, Tennessee boating laws, and now the law requiring lanyards. Division 16, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Division Commander is Martin Lester. With the leadership of Teresa Smith, the CA program 1 and 2 has had a very successful year and productive. With the support of 9 West and D8ER CA program, Teresa had the challenging task of coordinating availability of the CA members, times, schedules, and weather conditions. And in the beginning of the year, some of them had to travel through some very difficult weather conditions, but they got there. They serviced the members of the Ouachita and Chattanooga, and they also serviced the Muskegon in Oklahoma, and that's where the travel problems came into. East Tennessee didn't have much weather problems. As a major initiative that was necessitated by the decline of one of their flotillas, falling their membership to 4 members, and very little funds, and lack of mission activities, our division commander, instead of asking for a disestablishment, our division commander has appointed the vice division commander, along with 3 other members of that division, to look into what is another recourse to disestablishing that flotilla. So here's what they're looking for. Are additional flotillas or detachments needed in Division 16's AOR to serve the various waterways and communities? Or should the area of focus for the flotilla shift to better serve and be served? Or is it worthwhile to focus division resources on increasing membership and rebuilding Flotilla 1609? Or request a disestablishment up through the chain? They're working on this. They plan to present the findings at their upcoming division leadership meeting later this month. This process, this initiative, I think would serve other flotillas, other divisions that may have a similar problem. It may not even have to fall below the 10. It could be you're losing membership. You'd be down to 16. And we all know you could have a large membership, but your active membership is minimal. So this may be an initiative that you may look at in any division saying, you know, maybe we should follow the same course and do some readjustment. Division 24, North Alabama. Division Commander Harold Letch. Leadership is assessing the need for a detachment with Flotilla 2402 in Decatur, Alabama. Division and flotilla leadership is focusing on recruitment, who's already had a very successful year in recruiting. Hal and Richard Miles, the Vice Division Commander, are also focusing on existing membership through a mentoring program and training initiatives to re-motivate and re-engage their existing members. And I think we all know that that's been tough this year. As recreational boating is a primary mission, and flotillas and division leadership are looking to increase their activities and visibility, they're doing it through increasing their PA programs and their vessel safety check programs. The division, I went to a recent division meeting, and I was impressed to see that there were 5 division commanders at that meeting, 4 being past, 1 present division commander. 5 in a room, not counting me. That's impressive. You talk about a past division commanders association, they have their own. In addition, and part of that, they have Duncan Wilkinson, Deanne Rodenberg, Rita Blair, who's the immediate past division commander, Lynn and Richard Miles, and of course our own Chief of Staff, Chris. That's a heck of a pool of knowledge, experience, advice, benchmarking. The only problem they have, or any of us have, is picking up a phone, calling them and say, can you help me? Or can you sit down and talk to me? I don't know why we have a hard time with that, but they have a ton of experience there. Commodore Ventris has a past division commanders association. All you gotta do is call him, and he's got sources of all kind of experience and knowledge. So with that, I'm gonna close. I wanna just, for the past year, I wanna thank and offer my appreciation to the 4 divisions and division commanders for their support for the last year, my first year, and I guess today they've given me the support and confidence for another year. So thank you all, as well as your membership.
Thank you, Ron. That was 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Okay, next I'd like to bring up Skip Nunweiler, District Captain West.
Should have had a 2-minute warning.
I've had a great bunch of division commanders to work with in Division 1, 4, 5, and 8. And I'd like to call each of them up to give a short report on what they have accomplished in each of their divisions. So I would like Division 1 to come up, and if you would line up with 4, 5, and 8, I would appreciate it.
My name is Dan Gillahan, and I was elected this last year after the COVID. And through the COVID, there was a little training because we wasn't getting together particularly enough to really understand a lot. But we've been pushing through. We've been visiting a lot of the dealerships, and all the dealerships with the vessels have the same complaint. People, since they can't go out and do a lot of things, are buying boats and buying trailers and stuff like this. And they're telling us that these people have no idea how to run a vessel. And so they've been begging us, which we've started doing, going to certain dealerships and starting to have classes, boat safety classes, and teaching these people what to do, or how to operate their vessels and things like that. So that's one of the big things we have going. Of course, we also have a lot of upcoming things. QEs is really something the new guys wanting to become crew is really something that's really being pushed. And the way we're trying to take care of that is we started an academy in which we take and have a mock boats about, I don't know, good size. And we'll get 2 of them, put them next to each other and show them on the ground how to, tow a boat, how to do things like that, how to tie things up, what to do with knots and stuff. So that when we do take them out on the water, they have an idea and they're sitting there saying, oh, I get it now. So that's one of the great things that we've got going. One of the other great things we do is we have a boat and trailer show there in Indianapolis in which we set up a booth and have a lot of people come through, and we pick up a lot of people for VE tests, for us to go out and check them and things like that. And we'll get a couple hundred people that we can call and go out and check and do their VE tests. And then one of the other big things we do is we have at the Indianapolis 500, we have Military Day. And we set up there and we're able to visit a lot of people coming through. They have their different military branches there that they show them things. But one of the neat things we get a lot of our people to come in and do is during the qualifications, they have all the recruiters have brought their people in and they swear them in right there at the 500 on race day. And we've been doing that. We've had goats hide there and things like that. And that is a lot of fun. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Division 4.
Thank you. Okay. I'm Mike Craig, Division Commander for Division 4. Currently, as of this week, we have 91 total members that are across our 5 flotillas that are in the area. Division 4 is geographically pretty good size. It's about 75% of the state of Kentucky and that's the southern tier of Indiana. So it starts off with Flotilla 4-1 in Lexington, which is also responsible for Lake Cumberland and Harrington Lake. They're our largest flotilla with 38 members. They're actively recruit. They're since they're our largest flotilla, they're our most active flotilla and our most diverse flotilla as far as program areas that they're involved in. They do surface patrols. They have coxswain crews. They've been really involved in cross-member training within their flotilla, with also with the other flotillas in the division and other flotillas in the district. It's been very productive there. They have OX air coverage. They have pilots, air observers, and air crew. They support the auxiliary chaplain program. They also have an OX chef on board. And they also have a member that does a lot of their in-house first aid and CPR training and survival training, things of that nature. Flotilla 4-2 is in Jeffersonville, Indiana. They currently have 13 members. They have national and district staff support and IS support. They also house our auxiliary sector coordinator, and who's also an OX air observer. 4-3 is in Louisville. It's one of the other Louisville flotillas. They got 14 members. One of the OX, actually the flotilla commander is heading out on Monday for a Coast Guard Gold Side augmentation in the healthcare field. She's going to Coast Guard Air Station Elizabeth City for 2 weeks to backfill a public health service officer. So that was a new one. That's one of those ones that came out of the skill bank. Somebody looked in there and said, "Hey, we need somebody who can do this medical healthcare profession," and they reached out to her, and it was through iterations. It worked. So the people are using what Commodore Ventress was talking about. Evansville is a flotilla. That's our farthest west flotilla. They got 11 members. They got a coxswain facility. No crew right at the moment. Crew's in training. Our member over there. So we have a lot of people that go over and cover crew coverage for him. He goes down to Cumberland. Cumberland comes up to see him. It's really working out well. And the other flotilla is in Louisville. It's 410. That's the member I'm a member of. We do a little bit of everything, and we try to do it as well as possible. All of the flotillas concentrate on vessel safety checks as best they can, program visiting, and also public affairs and reaching out. For National Safe Boating Week, I think we had, 32 radio stations in southern Indiana and Kentucky airing the public service announcements for Safe Boating Week. So that was driven by our flotilla, or the division staff officer for public affairs, who's attending the leadership course with Rob Henson. So thank you.
Okay, keep it short, just got the word, so I'll be really quick. I'm Doug Field with Division 5. Our division's roughly the Markland Pool of the Ohio River, but mainly around greater Cincinnati. One of the big events that happened for us, because the first part of the year, really, like everyone else, we were shut down. We couldn't do a lot because of COVID. But in August, we had Paddle Fest, as the Commodore talked about. And Woody and I actually worked the communications with Oxcom and PACCOM as accommodation, and we can certify there was only one dead body report the whole event. So it worked out pretty well when we found out that was not the case, that it was a dead body. but actually we had assets there, and also Lieutenant Olmsted brought up the River Fest, where we had 500,000 people come down to the riverbanks. The auxiliary helped them out very much in the first shift with Division 6 teaming up with Division 5 and providing assets out on the river, plus helping with communications there. We also, the same day we had Paddle Fest, we had a cardboard boat regatta in the Ohio River in a different city, New Richmond, a few miles up the river, and we actually had a team of auxiliaries racing a cardboard boat, setting up information booths and that type of thing there. We also provided assets at Riverfront, or not Riverfront anymore, Great American Ballpark for the Reds fireworks. They go out on Friday nights, so we help out there. But we've done a lot of things more than just on river work due to our Wendy McAdams, our PA officer. There was a lot of public affair events with police nights out, and she had several events lined up during the summer to help the Coast Guard Auxiliary put our name out there during other events. 2021 was a little rough with our recruiting because we have a travel, sports, and boat show in Cincinnati we rely on big to try to bring recruits in. That was postponed in 2021, but we're set up for 2022 already. So thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Guffey. I'm the division commander with Division 8 down at Kentucky and Barkley Lakes. And in the last few months, this year we've put in over 4,500 hours in all of our operations in the area. We are happy to have Commander Andrew and Lieutenant Commander Lita on board with us. We're working on doing some recruiting with help from Commander Andrew at the high schools. We have a lot of auxiliaries that go in and do desk watch at MSU Paducah to keep them up and running. I am happy that in the last month, my division has put in over 1,000 hours, and some of that was because of the American Jazz. I was so proud of the division, especially the operations program, for seeing the need or getting the call and going and helping. And they did it in a lot of hot weather, so I want to say congratulations to them for their hard efforts and all. We've been doing boating safety classes, recruiting, trying to get our numbers up for new members. And I know Flotilla 87 is working on 2 new members right now. So we're doing the best we can down there to keep everybody busy and afloat.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank all 4 division commanders who I was able to work with. You are a fine group of people, and I really enjoyed working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip. I now would like to bring up Commodore Rick Shaw for Auxiliary Sector Report. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, Anthony. I know. He is. And he did. Yeah.
See how it is. I got you. All right.
Sorry, Rick.
So at work, I have a senior VP who I am not. I am like down here, and he has this motto for speaking. It's the 3 Bs, right? Has anyone ever heard 3 Bs? If not, I'm going to tell you what they are. It's be bright, be brief, and be gone. So I will try to accomplish that task. So we first got the schedule for this event. Matt said, you have 15 minutes. It's like, perfect. And about, a minute later, it's like, you only have 5 minutes. So this reminds me of the spring D-Train when he did the exact same thing, except then he told us at the event we had 5 minutes to speak. So I have a couple notes here. So I'm going to do this in the good, the bad, and the ugly report, right? And we'll start with the ugly. We all know the ugly is this little pandemic, this virus floating around, which has caused some of the flotillas and divisions to have less things to do due to local restrictions and restrictions that are imposed on by the government, so to speak, right? But that's the ugly, right? So we're good there. One thing I do want to do is offer my congratulations to our new district captain-elect West, Doug Field. You'll have fun. Maybe you'll have fun. You can have fun, but it'll be a rewarding experience for you. And to Woody, thanks for standing up and taking a chance. You don't know if you don't try. So I'll go to good. So collectively, divisions 2, 6, 7, and 18 have shown increases in many different areas. One of them is vessel safety checks. They went, so in those 4 divisions, went from having 321 this time last year to 817 this year, with Division 18 having 2 flotillas that have set new flotilla and court division records. That's flotilla 1807 and 04. So that's something to say, right? That we are out doing things with peoples. The next thing is the program visits. At this time last year were 287. This year at 505. So that's another increase of people out there talking to people. Public education stayed about the same, but the public affairs hours have almost doubled, right? So that, again, these flotillas and divisions are out doing things with the public, which is all we can ask, right? There's all these restrictions. People can't do things. I have to wear a mask. I got to do this. That's it. People are doing it, and they're adapting to it. Now, are some of those public education classes a little virtual? Maybe. Is that okay? Sure. The thing I also found most remarkable is this time last year, there was 0 hours of patrols, at least from these floor divisions. This year, they're around 325, and there's more on the way. So again, out doing things, having fun. Hopefully they're having fun. Or just doing things, right? And reporting hours. That's the great thing. So there's some membership increase. Division 6 had added 5 new members, and Division 2 added 2. I know all the flotillas divisions have interest, and the respective SOs and FSO HRs are following up to get those submitted in. Flotilla 7-2, which is where I am from, is looking at exploring, or is exploring starting an auxiliary university program at Franciscan University, which is in Steubenville, Ohio. The guy who wants to start that ran one up in John Jay in New York, and it was very successful. There's some other interest in other universities as well. So it's an untapped market, so to speak, especially in Pittsburgh, where there's lots of universities. So we'll see how that one goes. So a lot of flotillas and divisions are going back to in-person meetings. Some of them like doing in-person. Some of them, I think, like doing virtual. Some are a mix of the two. So we've heard a lot mentioned this weekend about, or these past couple of days, about doing hybrid meetings, which is a good option. And the other thing is some of the flotillas have resumed operations with partners from back in 2019, or lost my place, with local outfitters, retailers, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers and other governmental entities. One thing I did find is Flotilla 211 established a new relationship with the Riverboat Museum, which is in Mount Pleasant, West Virginia, to help promote boating safety, and Flotilla 77 has expanded upon its partnership with the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps. So the Sea Cadets are a little different than Sea Scouts, kind of same idea, but different methods of implementing them. Then, of course, we know we have an interpreter over in 18, and there is another member from Division 7 interested in joining the interpreter corps as well. And we also have one new member to join Aux Clergy, which is always fun. Something that is needed and loved and wanted and sometimes necessary. Well, a lot of times necessary. Now, we have some bad. You can't have good without bad, right? We'll talk about them. Not as long, because I think Matt's like trying to kick me here, saying hurry up. So there was some concerns over the lack of qualified crew and coxswains, right? Some people are getting up there in age, so to speak, right? No one here, but some other people, and they are looking to retire or not renew that. Something we'll have to work on, figuring out how to get new people in these positions. There's also some concerns about qualified candidates for future elected offices. I know we can do waivers, right? But we don't want to if we can find new people to fill in positions. And then the last thing from the bad, and it's kind of a mix, I have a mixed feeling about this bad, it's about Aux Data 2. People don't know how to use it. I know how to use it. If you need questions, have questions, ask me. Not all your questions at once, but do that. So there are a few things I have, just some solutions to some of these problems, and that we've talked about is doing more stuff in public, right? That will see people are out there, or it will see you're out there, and you can gather some people from it. Look at the things such as the AUPs, or working with local youth groups or local community groups. You never can tell what you can pull out of there. The last thing is Aux Data 2 training. I'll say that, I'll speak selfishly for 1 second, is in Division 7, I started doing a weekly Aux Data 2 training class on Thursdays. A couple people have come to it. A lot of people that have come to it have started putting stuff into Aux Data 2, which is good. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes it needs a little help. But at the end of the day, everyone here, everyone that's come to that has learned something. But what I can say is, you don't know if you don't try. You don't, lost completely where I was going with that. But anyways, since I lost my place, I lost my train of thought, I'm gonna be gone at the third pass. But you'll hear from me later on. I'll be back up here in 15 minutes. All right, that's my time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Okay, so we have a dilemma here. Lunch is ready. The buffet is open. They will stop serving at 1 o'clock. So we can stop right here and go to lunch, and then you can pick up the last 3 reports at 1 o'clock. And then Anthony still has to do his spring DTRAIN report, which is another 5 minutes. So I think we ought to stop now, if that's okay with everybody, and we will pick up at 1 o'clock, and that'll give you an extra few minutes to get into the lunch line and not get rushed for chow. All righty? Be back here at 1, please. Thank you.